ala Rasulullah. Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you so much for letting me come here, for inviting me to Blechley Dawah organisation. I'm very excited, as you guys must be, about the organisation and things being new and getting underway. I was at the event a couple of months ago, or last month, can't remember when it was. The one for the non-Muslims, the event at the Coronation Hall, I remember the name of the hall. Coronation Hall, we had the event there. It went really well. This is the sort of stuff we should be doing. Inviting non-Muslims to our events, because I think we're very Muslim focused. Obviously Dawah, as you learned in the Dawah training course last week, I think it was, Dawah is for non-Muslims, but there's quite a big need for Muslims as well, or you could say an equal amount of need almost, right? Obviously non-Muslims don't have any Islam at all, so for them it's coming into Islam in the first place. But Muslims are in such a state or situation at this time, a state of weakness. There's a lot of shirk in the ummah, there's not a lot of tawheed and getting the mercy of Allah in that regard. If you look at the Muslim map, it's pretty much on fire. If you go around the world, you see a lot of chaos, you see a lot of problems, a lot of wars, destruction. It's a really not a very good rosy picture, and the scholars have clarified this is due to the amount of shirk in the ummah, which is at an all-time high. Grave worship, calling on the dead, something non-tangible, following the desires, an ideology. All of this has lost this connection with Allah, so we need to return back. And obviously, so therefore Muslims need dawah, ad-din and nasiha, they need advice, counselling, help, everything that's needed, coming back to practicing if they're not practicing. And of course non-Muslims is a main primary target audience, those that have never had the message, we're trying to save souls by the guidance of Allah, by the will of Allah. So the dawah work is very important, as Imran covered back last week on this course. Now this course, what I'm going to go through today, is all about new Muslim support, or looking after the reverts. Once they've entered into Islam, how do you deal with the reverts? How do you deal with these shahadas? So remember, the shahada could come from anywhere, right? It doesn't just mean, like our plans with BDO, our plans is to try to eventually increase in the dawah projects, right? And one of them will be street dawah. That's something we hope to do. You have a perfect opportunity here to do street dawah, to get involved in it. And slowly but surely we'd like to develop a little team, have a little table. We'll supply you with a free supply of books, we'll give you training, more advanced training, and all the stuff you need to go out there and just convey the message, right? So this is all very good, but say someone takes shahada at your table, someone becomes a Muslim, they enter into Islam, right? What do you do? How do you deal with them? What's the next steps? Because you want to nurture these people and make them strong Muslims. That's very critical, it's very important, right? Because a lot of them, as we'll see in the course, they don't remain upon Islam. But shahadas could come from anywhere. A shahada could come from someone entering into a mosque, one of your work colleagues, someone at university, the guy who works in the shop down the road in Sainsbury's or whatever, he just works in the store. And like one of my friends used to work in a supermarket, Asda or something, and he became a Muslim through someone giving him dawah in the store, giving him some information on Islam and stuff like that. So shahadas can come from anywhere, from any angle. They'll come, and in your lives you'll experience them. But if you're ready to mentor these new Muslims, you'll make the world of a difference, right? And this is what we're going to talk about. So firstly, on the next slide, has anyone here ever witnessed a shahada? Yes, brother, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, this is when I was probably in my early teens. We went to a masjid in Chatham. Kent, yeah.
In Kent, oh yes,
yeah.
I heard of it,
There was a brother that came in and he was seeking advice, and
yes.
He wanted to take the shahada inside the masjid.
Right.
And obviously, together, collectively, we kind of came up with a name for himself.
Yeah.
But he was really excited, obviously,
So he's a non-Muslim man that's walked into the mosque?
Yeah, well, he's had a few friends, but this was the first time that he entered the mosque to actually proclaim the shahada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a build-up process.
There was a build-up process,
right.
yeah. And obviously he proclaimed the shahada in front of us, and obviously he was really happy with his new name.
Yes.
And the brothers that were very supportive. Obviously I was a local when I went over there, but the brothers were very supportive. So.
Okay. And how did you feel? How did you brothers feel when you saw it?
It's amazing. It just gives you obviously we take it for granted, but these people that are coming in, it just gives you a boost, and it just gives you a reality check.
Yes.
And you know what, you take this for granted, but
definitely.
You shouldn't really take it for granted, because these people now, what are the next steps for them?
Definitely.
They've got so many challenges in terms of social, family, and you kind of reminisce about all of these issues and think, wow, okay.
Absolutely. Definitely. Anyone else witnessed the shahada at any time? Maybe you've seen it on YouTube or something like that. Anyone seen it online?
Yeah.
Well, tell us about that. Brother.
I mean, seeing on festivals, I can telling
Yes. Yes.
That's a good
And he's done quite a few shahadas in his time, hasn't he? Live on TV and stuff like that, with lots of crowds of people and stuff like that. So generally, the feeling you get and this experience, it's very like emotional, very breathtaking. It's something very memorable, right? Because obviously the 1.6 billion Muslims is growing in number. Someone new is coming to the family. It's a time of high emotions and high happiness, goodness, a lot of care. You feel very overwhelmed, and like you say, brother, you feel grateful as well. You think to yourself, maybe one day you was not practicing, or you were non-Muslim. You wasn't guided yourself. Now you've come to Islam. You're guided. It's a real kind of like eye-opening experience that you will not forget in a hurry. And there's lots of happiness, lots of hugs and handshakes and all this sort of stuff. Maybe gifts, or you invite the people to dinner, take them out for a coffee. You're around this new person. So in the beginning, it's all very exciting. It's all high emotions, right? That's how it tends to be in the beginning, right? So we're going to look at a few true or false questions. So for these ones, brothers, I don't want you to answer them out loud now. Either just write down the answers, true or false, right? Or you can just keep it in your head if you don't have notes to paper to write on. But the first question is, new Muslims usually have a stronger iman than born Muslims because they chose to be Muslims. So it's either true or false, right? And we'll explore the answers later in the course in about an hour. Ansar, what time, brother, is Maghrib Jama'ah? 7, yeah. 7, so there'll be adhan and we'll break. So we'll take a break at that time, of course, yeah? Next question, new Muslims need extra support because of their situation. Yeah? So they're coming to Islam, they need extra support. New Muslims are more tested than other Muslims. So that's the 3 questions. New Muslims usually have a stronger iman than born Muslims because they chose to be Muslims. New Muslims need extra support because of their situation. New Muslims are more tested than other Muslims. So like I say, don't discuss it now. Note down the answers. We're going to revisit the true or false. And we'll look at this, we'll probe into this area of the slide a little bit further later on in the course, inshallah. So now, as our brother mentioned, a point about difficulties for reverts, we're going to look at and discuss some of the common challenges that are faced by new Muslims. Right, we're going to compile a list or go through what you think there might be out there that's typically difficult for a revert, right? Remember, it's different from country to country. You might go to Africa, for example, and the revert challenges might be completely alien to what they're like here. So I think the ones we've got here are maybe more focused with the UK or the West, you could say in general. I'm not too sure 100% where they're compiled from, but in the diagram of the next slide where it shows the list of the things, there's countries like America and stuff like that, so it's probably the West, as opposed to like Malaysia or Far East or places like that, or Africa. So, what do you think, brothers? What do you think some of the common challenges could be for the reverts?
Abandoned by the family.
Excellent, brother. Hold that thought, right? So abandonment by family, right? You've got to think about these things quite deeply. You know, imagine somebody, I'll take yours in a minute, brother, yeah? Imagine somebody in your family, your brother or your sister, your auntie, your mother. Imagine someone in your family turns around to you one day and says, I'm becoming a Christian, or I'm going to become a Sikh. How would you feel? You'd be shocked, wouldn't you? You'll be like, SubhanAllah, what's going on? We brought up this person loving Islam, loving Allah, being a good Muslim, and now they've thrown it all on their back and they've decided to go towards Sikhism or Hinduism or Christianity. So it'll be like a shock on you. So abandonment by family, this is one of the things that comes up. Can you think of any others? Yes, brother?
Eating haram homemade food.
Eating haram homemade food. That's true. So in like a non-Muslim household, the meat and everything just might be like whatever it is, pork or chicken that's not halal, or whatever the food is, they might be just having this food everywhere in the house, and all the time you're like being served this food or whatever, and it's not halal, and you haven't got much control in the house. There could be alcohol in the fridge, there could be music playing all the time, there could be invites to evil things like Christmas parties or whatever it is, or bad places where there's drinking and bad stuff going on. So there could be a lot of bad pressures. Definitely, you're right, brother. Yeah, harams and stuff like that. Any other things you can think of? Yes, I'm sorry.
They probably don't know how to practice Islam properly.
Good. Maybe not going beyond the basics. Very, very good one. Yes.
Probably don't know how to pray.
Good. So they don't know like the basics of Islam. Again, not going beyond the basics. Yes, brother.
Old habits.
Old habits. Good. Excellent. Yes.
What information to trust?
Good. So that's a very good one. Yeah, because if you look at the internet, It's a very powerful, I mean, obviously the world's biggest library in the palm of your hand, right? Very powerful, but it's, how can you explain it? You know, it's like a double-edged sword. There's loads of good on the internet and there's loads of bad. Lots of disinformation and misinformation about Islam. You know, they say Islamophobes are saying this, that and the other, Islam is terrorism, and all these lies and made up stuff that they haven't got knowledge. All of that is out there. So if you expect the Revert just to go out and learn about their Islam from the internet alone, problems will come up. Right? They might come back to you and say, I've learned how to pray. I pray 3 times a day. That's what's required. Yeah? They're following the Shias or whatever, right? Or they start whipping their backs or whatever. They're going to be really in a dangerous zone. And this is why if you come across any Revert in IERA, in our charity, we have got a package that we've got. It's like a gift box. It's a new Muslim welcome pack. And any Reverts can go to our website, just put in their name and address, and we ship it out to them free of charge straight to their address. And it's got in it, it's got the English translated meanings of the Quran, it's got An-Nawawi's 40 Hadith, it's got the Dawah book, the Little Fortress of the Muslim, the Black Dawah book, it's got How to Pray DVD, Beautiful Names of Allah, all these books and bits and pieces to get them going in the beginning. So that problem you mentioned, brother, is that it hopefully sidesteps that problem, that the internet can cause a lot of like confusion and stuff like that. So if they order that pack, for at least the first 6 months to maybe 2 years, they've got all they need to learn the prayers, to learn du'as, to learn loads of stuff basically. And it's a slow process, as you know what I mean? Just looking at these new words in Arabic and even the English transliteration, it can take a lot of months just to get used to it, do you know what I mean? Because the changeover is gradual for reverts. They're going from 40 years of atheism to coming into Islam, where Allah's in every moment of your life. There's dua, there's dhikr and everything, remembering Allah all the time. This doesn't come overnight, yeah? 40 years of atheism to Islam doesn't come overnight, so we need to give these reverts space and time and adjustment periods sort of thing. So can you think of any others?
Financial difficulties.
Good, excellent brother. We're knocking off the list really well. So financial difficulties. Maybe someone was gambling in the old days before Islam. They didn't really know that it was wrong, but they were gambling. They racked up a lot of debts. Yeah, they're struggling to pay their rent. They've got bailiffs knocking on their door. You don't know the situation. Some people come to Islam with thousands of pounds worth of debts. Yeah, it can come in different forms. Could be student loans at university. Could be like we say, gambling or something that they were doing wrong, things they didn't know. Could be bad business deals. Could be anything that they were doing wrong, dealing in interest, whatever it is. They come to Islam with crippling debts, right? Financial stress and difficulty. Yeah. Others. You're coming up with some really good ones, by the way.
Homelessness.
Homelessness, excellent. So could be that their family tells them to leave the house, maybe. Yeah. So homelessness. This is a very bad, obviously, very straining on that person's iman. You know, if you're going from having a house to live in, having a family, having a roof over your head, and then you're being told you've got to live on the streets, what's going to happen to Islam? What do you think, guys, would happen? You'll plummet. That person, the individual, they might leave Islam due to the pressures of being on the streets, having no house, having no home. Yeah, it's a very drastic situation, right? But it happens to reverts. Yeah, this does happen to reverts. They're told to leave the house. Either you leave Islam or you leave the house. Yeah, because the family are devout Christians. They don't want to know about Muslims. You know, they think you're involved in terrorism. This is a common thing for reverts. It's got a common trend and pattern and stuff like that.
There's actually a live example we witnessing of that happening.
Yes.
Of a Revert brother.
Yeah, it's common. It's very common. You know, there's a whole charity called Solace. Solace is have you heard of Solace? Solace is a sisters charity. It's set up for revert sisters who are going through difficulty. Right. So it's run by some sisters. I don't know if there's any brothers in the organisation, but some sisters have created the organisation or made it for some people, some Muslims, and they specifically look after revert sisters who are going through extreme difficulties. You know, like homelessness, violence or abuse, all these sort of problems that reverts can face. They support them financially, emotionally, with help and everything like that.
Is that ad on TV or something like that?
There probably is some ads on YouTube or TV. There's a video. I've got the video. It's a really shocking video about the charity actually. I might play the video actually if there's time. I don't know if I can get to it, but has that got a loudspeaker in it, Ansar?
It does have a speaker.
It's got speakers on the sides, hasn't it?
But I don't know if it will play it.
The sound? No, because it's connected to the HDMI. It will come through.
I can try. I don't know how it works.
Because if Imran, because I think his time is a bit short on the Dawah training when he can, because it's quite a long course, I must admit, that he done. But on that Dawah training course or during that course, if there's time, we normally play the Solace video.
Right.
right? And that's Soleh's video. I've got it. It's sorry, just trying to read. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's quite a shocking video, guys. I must warn you. It's quite an emotional, hard-hitting. But I'm trying to express a point to you guys that reverts, honestly, guys, we live in a bubble. We think reverts are okay, they're safe, they've become Muslims, you're hugging them in the mosque, you're happy, oh, they're going to be the next, Dawah leader, we've had these good aspirations and thoughts and stuff like that.
But they've gone through more hardship than you.
Some of them have gone through immense hardship, not all of them, but there's a bulk out there that are going through such hardships that you would be, yourself, if you knew what was going on, you'd be completely shocked, you'd be devastated, you'd be totally taken aback, you'd be like, you wouldn't believe that this is going on. So I've got the video. If the sound is good, I'll play it. If it's really bad, I'll cancel it.
I haven't tried this sound, so let's see, inshallah.
So, I don't know if I can get rid of that. Can you see? It says, many revert to Islam. Sorry, I moved the mouse and it came up with that 720 thing. I just let it disappear. It says, many revert to Islam, but many almost leave. And some do leave as well, by the way, right? Which we'll discuss in the course. But this is talking about the ones that get pushed to the edge.
Is it playing?
Oh, is it?
You might have to get rid of the PowerPoint.
Okay, let me
Minimize.
Let me quickly get to the computer. What's it showing now? It's showing still the PowerPoint. Okay, I think I have to switch off the PowerPoint maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just...
The important thing is that you cover and wear proper hijab, pray and don't eat pork anymore. Everything else will come later.
Mum, Dad, I've got something to tell you. I've become a Muslim.
Oh, so you're a terrorist now? Not in our home. You better leave this evil religion or there's no coming back here. Get out and go and ask your Muslims to help you.
Please. I just need to stay with you just for a little while.
Mashallah, I can't believe you've been Muslim for 2 months and you're not married yet. There's this brother who's looking to get married. You can't stay on your own. You need to get married.
I know, but I'm not ready yet.
With that, I congratulate the groom on their marriage.
You're going to become a father.
Alhamdulillah, great news. You want the angels to curse you?
Why are you chatting to sisters online?
Why do you treat me like this?
Shut up. Shut your mouth and don't question me.
Oh, mashallah. Congratulations to you both.
How dare you question me? You're divorced.
Mom, I need your help. I've got nowhere to go. So you're still following this nonsense? You've been beaten black and blue, divorced, and you still believe in your Allah.
Allah Akbar.
You need to leave.
Please, can I stay at yours? Or just lend me some money. I'll pay you back, inshallah.
Sorry, sister. We need the space for Dawood. But he's 4 now. Inshallah, you'll find something. Maybe ask the masjid.
Remember when we used to be at school? We used to look out for each other.
Why would Allah do this to me? I left everything for Islam. And what do I have? No husband. My parents don't want to know me unless I leave Islam.
Don't worry, you'll be alright.
They beat me up, and I had nowhere to go. Not one person was there to help me.
It's because he left Jesus.
I'm just tired and just so confused. I just can't do this anymore.
It's okay, you'll figure it out.
To be honest, I don't even know if I believed in Islam in the first place. Just look at the mess I'm in. I just don't know if I want to be Muslim anymore.
Look, just come back to Jesus. Jesus is always there. Why don't we meet up?
I'm just really, really tired. I just can't do it anymore. I've lost everything. No one has helped me.
Sister, please don't worry. Now that you've contacted Solace, we promise to do our best to help you. I can hear you're in a lot of pain, but please know we're going to arrange for you to have someone to listen to you and help you to get out of this dark place. Sister, your Lord loves you, and whilst you feel that no one has helped you, we are here to really help you change your situation for the better. Are you there? I need to take a few details from you. What's your name?
Actually, to be honest, quite an emotional video and stuff like that, but these are realities of reverts, guys. They are in difficult situations, they desperately need help, they go through very difficult things. Not all of them, like I say, but there's a lot of them out there going through a lot of these difficulties. So some of the ones you mentioned are in our list. The list is written, it's quite big on there, small on there. Right, so basically you've got things like abandonment by family and friends, yeah, so they don't want to know anymore, yeah, they shun them, they boycott them, they don't speak to them, these sort of treatment that they get. Some are forced to leave home or hide their identity or faith. There was a story about a Sikh revert in London somewhere. And this brother, he would obviously, at home, he would wear the turban. And then the Sikhs have got a bangle. He wears this sort of clothing that the Sikhs have got. Yeah, and then he would go into his car, he would take off the turban, take off the bangle and bits and pieces, go to the mosque, drive there, pray in the mosque, and then he'd go back in his car, put on the turban again and stuff, and he'd live like a secret life basically, because he didn't want his family to find out. And because I think Sikhs have got quite a lot of aggression, some of them, towards Islam and stuff like that, so you know, if they find out it's like an honour thing, and they get really upset that, you know, you've left Sikhism, and it's a really sort of like a murky, dangerous situation and stuff like that. Another one, unemployment or termination of the work. So this is quite common as well for a revert, or even it can happen to sort of like long-term Muslims as well. You know, if your work company turns sour or whatever. But for reverts, you've got to remember, a revert doesn't really have the wisdom of a long practicing Muslim, a long-term Muslim. So a revert might see things black and white. Oh, I need to have Fridays off because of Jummah. So I'm going to tell my boss, and I'm just going to, you know, not really, they might not go in there with much wisdom. They might just, like, when I say wisdom, like a person could write a letter or an email, go through the official route, but the revert might be just, with their lack of understanding, they might be very black and white. You know, I need Fridays off, or I need a double length lunchtime because of the Jummah, and then the boss might be, well, you can't do that, and then the guy's stuck and it gets messy, right? Or I need a place to pray, or the sister's wearing hijab, and the boss, the management are saying either you lose this headscarf, it's not part of our uniform, or you lose your job. Ultimatums, pressure, unemployment, termination, all because they became Muslims, right? And they're just trying to practice Islam. So this affects these reverts. Because obviously some of those employers and colleagues, they see the old person as well. Oh, you never used to do that. You used to come to the pub with us, used to drink and smoke and go to parties and everything. And now they're confused. It's like, why are you doing this? Why have you stopped? And there's this kind of friction that occurs for reverts. Debt and finance, another one, somebody here mentioned it, about the debt and the financial difficulties. Like I'll give the example of the one that has been gambling in Jahiliyyah. He didn't know, he racked up so much debt, so much pressure on him now. He's got the bailiffs coming after him, he can't pay his rent, he needs money basically, he's very stuck, right? Victims of abuse, this is common amongst reverts, or happens to some reverts, where over the years of their past lives, they were abused in different ways. This can happen, and these sort of things need counselling and professional help. I'm not trying to say anyone here can help these people, but you can know about it and refer them to the right people, right? You know, things against violence or other abuse or whatever, counselling, professional help can be like linked to them or passed on to them, and they can seek that recourse of action to try to resolve some of these problems that they're scarred with and stuff like that. Legal troubles, and they can't afford help. They could be going through some sort of sticky divorce situation, or something to do with the house, or anything legal and sort of tied in like that. Developing doubts about Islam, they don't know who to ask, another problem. The Muslims you have asked either don't know themselves, or they give unsatisfactory answers. Very little knowledge about Islam beyond the basics. So someone mentioned this one. So they know about Allah, they know about Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Do they know what is zakah? Do they know about Hajj and Ramadan and these sort of things? They know very little, guys. They just know very basic stuff. Yeah, we believe in one God, and that's all they really go with. They don't really, and and the next one sort of links to it, which is not practicing the basic obligations of Islam. So they don't do the 5 pillars, for example. They're not praying 5 times a day. They're not, for example, fasting Ramadan, or paying zakat, or even practicing or seeking knowledge, or doing the things connected with Islam. They're far away from that. And this is a common problem, you know, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And the thing I wanted to mention to you guys, has any of you guys heard of the New Muslim Retreat that we do in Milton Keynes? It's a program that we have running at the, not Milton Keynes, sorry, Newport Pagnell. We have the, it's called the Revert Hotel that's out there. I don't know if you know that hotel, but we basically hire it, or we were doing it. We've sort of spread it out to other countries now. But what we would do is a retreat for reverts. So we'd invite in like 50 reverts. They stay in a hotel. They have all the halal food provided, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's all served to them. They've got rooms to rest in. It's like an educational conference hall. So this is a very big project that IERA has been doing for a lot of years, and reverts can come to it and they get immersed in knowledge-based learning, you know, the basics of Islam, how to pray. There's like live practical wudu sessions, show them how to make wudu, teaching Fatiha, everything they need to know, the basics. And a lot of people come in to this program not praying 5 times a day, and they leave converted, if you like, to praying 5 times a day and making an effort to practice. So this is a very immersive, very good program that's very close to my heart actually. It's a very memorable, very decent program that we've been doing, and it's part of IERA. Brother Adil was involved in this, Ansari, in the reverts, in the New Muslim Retreat program. So basically, I think he was teaching the people the prayers and stuff like that, something connected in the workshops. So basically, other things coming up, for example, not receiving enough help from the local Muslim community, so hugs and handshakes in the beginning, happy times and dinners or whatever. After that, it's like no one even remembers the guy. Is he okay? Is he still practicing? No one's really bothered, right? And this is the thing I want to get into your minds, guys. I want you to understand that this revert support thing, this mentoring, is the job of everyone in this room. Yeah, it's the job of all of us. Don't just think it's an external thing like the imam in the mosque will do it. The leader of the Islamic Center will do it. These brothers over here, BDO, they've got resources, they've got an organisation, they'll do all of it. They can't look after everyone in Milton Keynes alone. Just a number of reverts, right, or in the whole UK. It's practically impossible, right? So this job is on all of us. Like, I'll give you like a little example of this support network or this idea. There was a brother who was actually homeless. So this is a bit about the other way around now. He didn't go homeless, he was homeless. And so one of my friends took his shahada of this homeless man, right? Name me 3 things that a homeless person needs. Shelter, food, yeah?
Water, drink.
Yeah, food and drink.
Clothes.
Yeah?
Companionship.
Okay, so clothes, what does that require? Money. So let's look at those 3. Food, shelter and money. Yeah, they're kind of like the main things, right? So what my friend did, because my friend who's back in London, he's got a chain of businesses, like different shops and businesses in London, right? And one of them was like a pizza store or takeaway or whatever. So what he did is he took the homeless guy who's taking shahada and he put him straight into the shop. He put him in the shop, he let him run the till, so he's got an income now, he's got money, he's working the till. He's got shelter, he can sleep at the back of the shop, right at the back of his back rooms, he can sleep the night there, he's safe and dry. And he's got food, there's food in the shop, covered. All 3 problems that a homeless person faces, all of them covered by this act that the one friend of mine did. See how it was easy for him because he's got a chain of businesses. I'm not saying everyone here has got mega businesses and stuff like that. You might have other things. You might have more free time, right? Or knowledge of Islam, or other things that are going on. But give that support. Whatever you've got, give it to them, right? So you might have an opportunity to teach the revert how to practically make wudu. Yeah? Now what's going to happen? Every time that revert makes wudu and goes on to pray, the wudu that they're going to do, they get the reward and you get the reward as well. It's a sadaqah jariyah. Yeah? It's a win-win. So you're going to get massive reward by helping that revert. And this is how you've got to see the support. You've got to see that there's goodness in it for you as rewards, yeah, no matter what you do. So another revert, you might teach them knowledge, like basics of Islam, how to pray, show them the movements. There's tons and tons, give them a prayer mat, like a prayer mat. If it's a sister who knows another sister, she might give her a hijab, a headscarf or something like that. You might give her something as small as a miswak, but you don't know. Brothers, you don't know what deed you're going to do, and on the day of judgment, that could be the thing that tips your scales, right? So look for the rewards, and these rewards are massive, because I'm going to talk a bit more about it as we go through the course. So another one that comes up on our list is loneliness. So loneliness is a major problem for reverts, or can be, right? And it's a major problem in this country generally. Loneliness in the UK is a major problem. there's 65 million people roughly in the UK population, right? Can anyone guess how many of the 65 million suffer from loneliness? 60 million.
80%.
That's like 90% of the people in this room. And you're all talking, you don't look lonely to me, you know what I mean?
It's 1 million.
1 million, okay, good. It's higher than 1 million.
3 million.
It's higher than 1 million, it's less than 15 million.
10 million.
Yeah, it's 11 million, right? 10 million is close. 11 million people in the UK suffer from loneliness, right? And it's not the traditional thing that people might think of. Oh, there's a guy, he's in his 70s or 80s, his wife died a couple of months ago, he's on his own, kids have moved to other countries, he's very lonely. That's not the loneliness that's happening nowadays. Nowadays, the lonely people are the 16 to 24-year-olds. The 16 to 24-year-olds, and what's causing it, or what's one of the causal factors, this whole bubble that we live in, you know, the internet age, yeah? Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, you know, all this stuff. It doesn't really create real relationships. It's like a fake bubble, a virtual world where you've got friends online, you don't really get to meet them and interact. So people are getting isolated in their own little bubbles, in their little shells, right? They're at home, on the computer all the time, on the phones all the time. They're not having these old-fashioned, good old like laughs with people and relationships. It's all disintegrating, right? And this is what there's I think it's an actor and comedian, Russell Brand. He mentioned this from his research. He said the age range is 16 to 24, where 70%, or a big number, are in that age bracket are the ones that are lonely nowadays. Yeah, and 11 million are the ones that have probably admitted it from the charity research, right? Imagine those that haven't admitted it. The real number could be a lot higher. But whatever the case, we're talking about 1/5 or 1/6, or whatever the number is, the ratio of the UK population is lonely. So for reverts, loneliness is even more a problem, because what happens is they're in a house, everyone's a Christian, there's no other Muslims around them. We've got it, we're all Muslims here, right? And as in we are born in a Muslim family, we've got it easy and straightforward, and it's very easy for us, right? But imagine you're a revert, and all day long in the house there's music playing, there's pork in the fridge, there's invites to Christmas parties, there's women and men coming and going. It really makes them feel isolated and they get lonely, right? Identity crisis. So this is like, you know, what am I at home? What am I at work? What am I in the greater society? Am I Muslim? Am I a British person? Am I, you know, still in one foot in the old Christianity that I was in? There's this identity crisis. Who do they identify as? Yeah, British, Muslim, what? They don't really know where to fall in the categories and stuff like that. So there's confusion, right? So has anybody here ever wished to live at the time of the Prophet Muhammad and be among the companions?
100%.
Yeah? A lot of hands went up there. Sorry?
It's kind of 50-50 one as well, so you can't...
You, what, 50-50 amongst the people here? Or?
Oh, I would say it's myself.
Oh, 50-50, yeah, I get your point, yeah. I mean, it's a bit of a strange question in the sense that we know we could never be at that time, right? Obviously, you love that time. We know Islam was being revealed. You know, the revelation was coming, the wahi. It was a pristine time for Islam, the best level of Islam you would get. Arabic language was at the strongest, yeah? It will never get to that level, by the way, of strength. Because what happens with languages, there's a thing called linguistic degeneration. Linguistic degeneration is where, over time, the wording, the language, whatever, it degenerates. It falls apart slowly. So, at the time of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the Arabic language was at the highest level it could ever be. And that's one of the ways that the challenge in the Quran, produce a chapter like it. If anyone could have done it, and nobody can do it, but if anyone could have done it, it would have been the Arabs at the time of Rasulullah ﷺ. But the challenge, because of linguistic degeneration, it's basically, it can never be met. Yeah? And if it was to be met, it would have been at that time, but obviously it can't be met, right? So obviously it was an amazing time. Yeah, Islam was coming, and things were amazing. So there's a story, it's mentioned in the Quran, that they love those who emigrate into them and find not any want in their breasts of what the emigrants were given, but give them, the emigrants, preference over themselves, even though they are in poverty. And whoever is protected from the stinginess of his soul, it is those that will be the successful. So that's the Quran, chapter 59, verse 9. Right? Let me just quickly, before I forget, just get a picture for my report and stuff like that, and do a quick count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, alhamdulillah, right. So basically, what happened in the story? So you've got the Ansar and the Muhajirin, they're there helping each other. They helped each other so much, right? Amazingly. This one helper or companion, he's in poverty. That's how the Quran mentions it, they're in poverty. And a lot of the Sahaba were in dire poverty. You know, in terms of dunya, status and stuff like that, they had very little, yeah, but they were the most successful people, right? So he had this food in his plate, which he put into the guest's plate, and he took a bowl himself, put the spoon or the utensil in there, and it was empty. But he just turned down the candle, and the picture shows this candle, he turned down the lights, made the candles, everything go dark, and he pretended to eat, making noise with the plate and the utensils, with the cups or whatever. He pretended that he's got food in his plate, but he gave all the food in the house to the guests that were there, right? And this is how they looked after each other. When they knew someone's come to Islam and there's a new Muslim or whatever, this is how they put everything first, and this is how we should be with the reverts. I'm not saying you put yourself in a financial difficulty, give up your house or do strenuous things like this or stressful things like that, impractical. Nobody's saying we live an impractical life, but we should be prepared to really look after them in a really special way. And what was special, or what was common to all the companions? It's not common to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All the companions had one thing in common.
They used to give.
They used to give, brother. Excellent. But what was it about them? What was common between all of them? Yes.
They all had a specialities.
They all had a speciality. Good. Yeah. Think more general.
Basically, they used to give generously.
They used to give generously. Excellent.
They used to have love for each other.
They had to have love for each other, yeah. But what were they all? Yeah.
United.
Reverts.
Reverts, yeah. Excellent. They were all reverts to Islam, weren't they? They were all coming to Islam. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we don't say he's a revert, right? Obviously, right? So the Sahaba were all reverts, they were all coming to Islam, right? So this is the thing that I'm trying to get in your minds. Look how they looked after each other. Look at the love. Your brother mentioned probably one of the most important points, which is a common theme in this course. Remember how love works in Islam. Love is very important, guys. To have this element of being a loving Muslim is critical for everything, for dawah, for revert support. If you're not a loving person and you don't have compassion, mercy and show kindness to others, then your dawah will not go far. And your revert support will never go beyond the basics. You have to have so much love for that revert, yeah? Because your new brother in Islam, yeah? And you have to have loads of love, right? So keep this in mind, yeah? That it's part of worship as well. There's a saying that talks about the bird. It's got two wings and a head, yeah? There's love is the head, hope and fear are the wings. So if it loses one wing, it's still alive, it can still feed off the worms or whatever, hop around, yeah? But the head of this bird is love. So love, we should be involved in it in a way we understand Allah is al-Wadud, He's all-loving. It's an important element of Islam, yeah? And we should bring it, like I say, in our dawah, in our revert support. It's very, very, very critical, it's very important, right? So, where are the new Muslims now? This is the statistic, right, which is hard to gauge actually. It's very hard to engage or know about the statistic, right? Which basically says that 40 to 50% of converts are not remaining upon Islam. Like I say, it's very hard to gauge this statistic, yeah, very hard, because no one's really tracking how many reverts there are, who's coming into Islam and who's leaving. They catch maybe some of the guys that left, they hear about, okay, he left, but how many are coming in? There's not some big master tally chart that's recording all the people coming in and all the people leaving. All we know, Islam, the world's fastest growing religion, but a lot of the people are leaving Islam as well, right? There could be old Muslims, there could be new reverts or whatever, relatively recent reverts, but know for a fact that here it says 40 to 50%, I think it's higher than that. From my 10 years experience in dawah and looking after reverts and doing this sort of work, I sort of like estimate, or you could say suspect in a way, that it's a higher amount. It's easily probably about 70, maybe 80% of reverts, they don't remain upon Islam. So most shahadas that you'll see around you, that person won't come through as a strong Muslim. Yeah, some will. Yeah, and we're going to explain who are the ones that come through as strong reverts. And one of the key common factors involved is the support you give them. Right, and know one thing: if you support them in their infancy, in the early days, if you get behind the reverts, you support them, they're normally the strong ones. Can I ask everyone? Can everyone move to the front rows? Yeah? Come to the front rows.
Move forward, please.
Yeah, I have to shout, otherwise, and it's like hard work.
No, the front row is inshallah.
Using the
Okay, so we spoke before prayer break. We spoke about these reverts. You know, a lot of them are leaving Islam. Yeah, these converts or reverts, whatever you want to call them. They're leaving Islam, so they come in. They're into Islam for 2 weeks. They're into Islam for 2 months, even 2 years, and then they flake out. Basically, they leave for whatever reasons, right? So many people learn how to plant the seed of dawah, but only a few know how to make it grow. Yeah, which is the revert support, and this is what this course is going to be about. So. Here's the objectives of the course. Understand why new Muslims should be supported and empowered. That's the first thing, right? Recognize the huge rewards involved in new Muslim support. Simple but effective map on how to welcome and empower new Muslims. So we're going to talk about how you empower them, how you do all these bits and pieces, welcoming, what the do's and don'ts are, tips and advice, and all this kind of stuff will be in the course, inshallah, right? So I'm aiming to finish by 8:30, yeah, so about an hour and 15 minutes. And Brother Ansar was saying there's food coming at 7:30. I don't mind, you guys, you can eat and still concentrate on the course, but just know at the end of the course, about 8:20, I'm going to finish, and there'll be like a little case study. So there'll be a role play that I want 2 of you to come to the front and do like a role play, like looking after a revert, giving it an example, but we're going to build up to it, inshallah. So do focus on the content, inshallah, yeah? So, and by the way, the notes for this course, I'll share them with Brother Ansar, the notes for this course, and Imran's course, I've got notes. I'll actually check with Imran for his one. For this one, I've got notes in a Word document or something like that, so if you missed anything out, don't worry. If you want to revisit it and go back to it, just ask Ansar for the notes. I'll send them on WhatsApp, inshallah. So basically, there's a 3-step methodology. Very important, guys, right? So there's a welcoming phase, welcome the reverts, teaching, teach the reverts or new Muslims the first steps. Very important, the baby steps. What's the first thing to teach them? The important things in the beginning. Then there's an empowerment stage, mentoring and empowering new Muslims. Very, very important. All 3 steps go one after the other. It's all part of the methodology. So, let's look at something before we start. Let's clarify something. What do you think defines a new Muslim? What would you say is a new Muslim, guys?
Somebody who's taking reverted from another religion or taking the Shahada.
Good, taking the Shahada. Anyone else?
Do you call a Muslim, like a born Muslim, a new Muslim if they weren't very practicing and they thought that they didn't class themselves as a Muslim before?
If they didn't class themselves as a Muslim before and they were not practicing or whatever, then you could say that's a revert as well. But if he was Muslim and he had Islam, like the basics, let's say, believed in Allah, you know, had the Shahada and stuff like that, the Kalima, all these bits and pieces, then you wouldn't really say that he's a revert. Revert is what Ansar said. Someone from Christianity or Sikhism to Islam, that is the revert in effect, basically.
What about those people, for example, like I remember before in our street, we used to ages ago, there was a little boy, his dad was Muslim, his mum wasn't.
Yeah.
And as soon as he was born, the dad left the scene.
Yeah.
And he's got a Muslim name.
Okay.
About then he was growing up as a...
If a Muslim name, the naming of something doesn't make it a reality. You
so
can be
that
called,
would be a new Muslim then? He would be like
you would say he was a revert, yeah, because he might grow up to be an atheist or a Christian with a Muslim name. There's many people like that, isn't there? What about all the Copts? You know, the Christian Copts. They've got Muslim names, Abdullah, whatever, but they believe in the Trinity and this and that and the other. So, but can you think more about what? Yes.
Would it be more like someone who recognised their creator? They've kind of brought that themselves back to the fitra, in other words, maybe.
Yeah, that's right in the right area. Was you at Imran's course the other day?
I wasn't, to be honest.
Oh, you wasn't? Okay, I thought, because you mentioned the fitra, and I started thinking about the fitra, right. Because that's an important thing in Dawah, actually, because it's an inbuilt proof that Allah exists and to worship Allah, and the Quran doesn't have a lot of proofs about God's existence. You know what I mean? It's because of the fitra. It's one of the reasons, right? No, it's, you know what, you're in the right area. It's to do with, what I was looking from you guys was, think about the timing. Would you say a new Muslim is someone that took Shahada 2 weeks ago? Or 3 weeks ago? Yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah. New, isn't it? It's only 3 weeks old, a baby, yeah? What about someone that took Shahada 3 years ago? Or 2 years ago? Or 20 years ago? What do you think?
It's still relatively new.
20 years is quite a long time. 2 years. 2 years, yes, relatively new. What about the 20-year-old guy? Do you think he could be a new Muslim still?
It depends.
I guess it depends.
Yes, good. How would it depend?
it depends how he's been practicing.
Excellent, excellent. So what we define as a new Muslim is someone that doesn't go beyond the basics of practicing. Yeah, someone, who hasn't gone beyond the basics of practicing, yeah? That's what the new Muslim is. So they're new, they don't know much about Islam, they're still at that new level. So someone who's been a Muslim for 30 years, he's never prayed 5 times a day in his life, he doesn't know much knowledge of Islam, he doesn't really research much, he doesn't even know what Hajj is or Zakah, he knows very, very basic stuff. We could regard him still as a new Muslim, yeah, in that regard. So don't keep it time bound. Don't just say, all reverts, new Muslims, all new Muslims are 2 weeks old, 3 weeks old, up to a year old. There's no sort of time limitation on it, if that makes sense, right? So, so let's look at the first stage or step of the methodology, which is actually welcoming the new Muslims. Now normally we do this really well. As I mentioned earlier on in the day, we have these big handshakes or big hugs and lots of happiness in the mosque. Everyone hugs the Revert. We invite him to dinners, we bring him dinners, we have dinners in the mosque, go to restaurants, we all do all this nice brotherhood stuff, there's all these high emotions. Everyone's overjoyed. Yes, we've got Brother Abdullah, he's a new brother, Islam is growing, world fastest growing religion. It's all a fun time and we do it really well. So the welcoming we do really well, right? But we miss out on a critical area, which is one of the, I think, probably the most fundamental reason why the reverts don't remain upon Islam. And that is,
you're not teaching them.
You're not teaching them, something in specific. You're right, brother, you're not teaching them properly. But what should we teach them in the beginning? What's the first?
Basics of Islam, the foundation of Islam.
Good, excellent. The foundations or the basics, right? The Tawheed, or, as the slide here says, understanding the Shahada. This is absolutely essential, right? Because a lot of the Shahadas we experienced, and this was some of the mistakes we made in IERA, but there was a lot of these trophy Shahadas. You know what a trophy Shahada is? The guy's just saying La ilaha illallah, he's on the street somewhere, you think it's a Shahada, the brothers are all excited and happy, they're like, look at this new Muslim, Christopher has now become a Muslim or whatever, but it's like he doesn't know what he's saying and there's no meaning or understanding, it's just what we call a trophy Shahada or confetti Shahada, right? And there's a verse in the Quran where Allah says, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لِذَنْبِكَ, right? Which means, know that none has a right to be worshipped except for Allah alone, and then seek forgiveness for your sins. Now if any of you have studied any Arabic, or there's some Arabs here, you'll know that the fa'lam in the verse, the fa'lam is the fi'l amr, which is the command tense, with the imperative. So it's a command, it's imperative as the grammar goes, it's imperative to know what the Shahada means. You can't just make that noise of the Shahada and you become a Muslim. A Japanese guy walks in the mosque here, he says La ilaha illallah because he just heard his neighbour saying it, whatever. It doesn't definitely mean that he's a Muslim. Does that make sense? Right? He's just parroting it, And there's conditions to the Shahada, as we know, scholars have stipulated or clarified as several conditions. Some say 7, some say 8 or 6, is around that number. But there's 7 conditions to the Shahada, let's say. And there's knowledge is one, is number 1 at the top, knowledge or ilm, the others are like certainty, yaqeen, sincerity, ikhlas, truthfulness, sidq, love of the statement, and acceptance, qabul. All these parts make up or are prerequisites of the Shahada. But the one we're focusing on here is the understanding, the knowledge of what it means. What does La ilaha illallah mean, right? And you have to explain this to the Revert, go over it with them, make it clear to them. They're entering into a covenant with Allah. It's not just words you can throw around, right? It's a contract with Allah. You're taking Prophet Muhammad as the role model, and they intend, the Revert intends to adhere to the requirements and the guidance of what he has testified. So it's not an empty slogan, like we said, the parroting or the Japanese guy just making this sounds, this noise. That's not the Shahada, guys. And unfortunately, a lot of the things, times where we think, yes, he became a Muslim or she became a Muslim, and they took the Shahada, well, they don't even know what they were saying. So there was nothing to remember in the first place. They've forgotten it before it's even started. They didn't even know what they were saying. So they came in, and they went out immediately, right? In that sense. As in, they came in, but then they leave Islam themselves. But it's because of the weakness of not understanding what does Islam entail. And also, the prayer is very critical at this stage as well. So when they take the Shahada, don't hold back. Someone around you, either from your own Dawah work or from another source. Say someone at your university, one of the guys has been reading the Quran and he comes in one day and he's like, I want to say the Shahada. When he's saying that Shahada, when he takes the Shahada, explain to him that the first thing he or she has to be doing is what? Establish regular prayer. This is absolutely critical, guys. Don't keep it to the background. Don't hold it off for a number of days or weeks or even years. That's common for the reverts. They don't establish prayer, and you need to get it onto the plate, get it clarified clearly in the beginning. Prayer is something that we cannot skip. It's part and parcel of Islam. After the Shahada, it's the most important pillar. Yeah, if you look at the other pillars, there's always concessions. If you're old or sick, you've got an illness, you don't have to fast Ramadan. Yeah, Zakat, if you don't have the threshold of your level of poverty, you don't have to pay it. Yeah, Hajj, only if you've got enough money do you go on it. But this pillar of Salah, there's no way you get out of it. Even if you're sick, you have to lie down, even with your eyes blinking, whatever. If you can't do the movements, there's all these things where you have to do it, right? So make this clear to the Revert. You have to establish the prayer. It's something that will slowly help you and teach you with. Will teach you the steps. In the IERA New Muslim Welcome Pack, there's the How to Pray DVD or How to Pray book. Yeah, you give them the resource, and just be around them, sort of help them, understand these basics. Explain it. It'll take time to explain it. Let it sink in. Because and even one of my friends recently said, even when you take the Shahada, maybe it's better to say it in English first and then say the Arabic afterwards. Yeah, make it official afterwards, but let them know what they're coming into first in English. Because that statement they're saying in Arabic, don't just throw it around like light words. Remember, it's got meaning to it. It's heavy, guys. It's heavy. And when the ones who do understand it, okay, I understand there's only one deity to be worshipped, right? They've understood the actual meaning. They're the ones that come through stronger from my experience. They're the ones that stick through, they hold out, they've got understanding, they've got knowledge, they're empowered already from the start, yeah? And they're the guys that remain practicing for years to come. This is very important, right? And obviously also scholars have said in the beginning, those reverts that don't know, they're not going to know Fatiha in the beginning. I mentioned earlier, 40 years of atheism to Islam doesn't come overnight, yeah? So they don't know Fatiha, they don't know the movements, they don't know what is wudu, how to make it. So in the beginning, scholars have said they can just do the movements of the prayer and say a superlative at each movement, like Subhanallah, Allahu Akbar, whatever it is. At each movement, they can just say that word, and they go through the movements. But the key thing is, they're trying to learn the prayer, and they're establishing it 5 times a day. That's a key criteria. They're trying to learn Fatiha, they're trying to memorize Quran, they're learning it, listening to tapes or CDs or MP3s, whatever, files on the internet, YouTube. They're making the effort to establish is a criteria, right? They can't obviously continue for the next 50 years just saying Allahu Akbar each way they've got to learn the prayer, right? So give them time, give them breathing space. But what's essential, after this Shahada, this person has taken Shahada around you, or they've come to you, they've said to you, I became a Muslim 2 days ago or whatever, you wasn't there at the Shahada, but you know they've recently taken Shahada. With this person, it's important to make a first contact or first call, let's say a phone call, within 24 hours of them proclaiming the Shahada. So if it's a Shahada they took with you, take their number, take their email. Always take two forms of like communication or contact, because a number can get changed or a phone can get lost. An email is more permanent, so get both of them. And then what your aim is to make this first call, a telephone call, within 24 hours. Call them up. David, remember you took Shahada with me a couple of days ago at the mosque or at your university or wherever it was. And this is the most crucial time for new Muslims, this early days, this infancy, the bit where they're taking, you're having this call, sorry. Because the top 12 challenges, the things we spoke about, loneliness, financial difficulties, all these hardships, this is where they can become a reality. So in that call, you might be having the call, how are you finding Islam, what's going on, everything okay? And the person's really positive, he's on cloud 9, Iman might be high, he's really happy with Islam, everything's good, but he just mentions, like in his excitement, he mentions, but my parents aren't happy with my coming to Islam. So this is something you flag in your mind now. You've got a little flag there. He mentioned his parents aren't happy. So now you can be on the caution now. Maybe his parents are going to throw him out of the house. Yeah, maybe his parents are going to try to make him leave Islam and attack him and stuff like that. So you've got a little bit of information there, right? And this is what you're doing when you're mentoring. You're looking out, as we'll discuss it in the course, you're doing active listening, looking out for key problems or indicators that there could be difficulties for the reader that you can solve, inshallah, yeah? So now the structure of this first call, obviously introduce yourself. I'm Ansar, I'm Muhammad, I'm whoever I am from the Bletchley Dawah organisation or from the mosque or wherever you're from. Yeah, so you're calling on behalf of whatever organisation. Confirm that they accepted Islam. Yeah, some may have even forgotten that they took Shahada and don't even remember what they did. So confirm, now you've become a Muslim, you took this Shahada, having this little review of the Shahada. Welcome them, obviously, tell them about the things that are available. We've got mosques around you, we've got lots of brothers here. We meet up on this day, we do sports on this day, we play football on this time of the weekend or whatever. Tell them about what's going on. So offer local support and activities. Inform them about your role and how you can help. Yeah. So I'm here. I can teach you, where the mosque is, introduce you to the Muslims, help you to learn how to pray, all that stuff, order a new Muslim welcome pack, provide your contact details, as we mentioned, a mobile and an email, swap all of these over, because you're the lifeline for this person. Literally, after the guidance of Allah, they see Islam through the window of you. Everything you're doing, the lenses of you is how they see the Islamic world. They're not getting it from any media, that's going to give a distorted image. Other people aren't going to tell them. They're seeing Islam through the lenses of yourself, basically. The whole of the religion through one person. What you say, what you don't say, how you said it, what you emphasised, what you didn't emphasise, all of it. They're scrutinising you and they're learning Islam literally from your behaviour. So be very careful. You're an ambassador for Islam in this regard, yeah? So arrange a meeting, it says in red. Very, very critical, right? Because you have to have a face-to-face meeting, which we'll talk about, right? Is there anything else I can help you with? I know that sounds like one of those annoying customer service lines that a person says at the end of your EE when he's trying to tell you about your mobile phone bill, and you just want to tell him, look, you've dealt with it, I just want to get rid of you. Right? But in this case, we're saying it because just ask him, any other things that we can help you with, because in the sense that this is where he might open up. Yeah, you know what? I just don't have a job at the moment. I've been out of work for a long time. I've got a lot of debt. He might mention some problems from the old days. And quite often reverts are quite communicative. Well, not all of them. Some of them keep it bottled up. But some of them will open up to you and say, yeah, I've got this issue. I'm struggling to understand the prayer, for example, or whatever it is. And they open up to you. So do probe with them in a good way. Obviously, it's not spying. We're just trying to help a vulnerable person in that regard, yeah? So the first meeting, what is it all about? Well, establish a good relationship, very important. Yeah, we'll talk about how you do that. The Shahada review, remember we emphasised, very important. They know what it means, what it entails, what it means for their life now. Re-establishing the importance of the prayer. So obviously you told them when they took Shahada, you've got to be praying and I'll help you learn the prayer, etc. You re-establish that importance, right? So now, how do you establish a good relationship? Obviously get to know each other. Just be casual with the person. Be friendly, be loving, be warm. They're your new brother in Islam. Treat them as such. Yes, brother.
You know how you said you be the scope for them? Where, for example, you're Muslim, but you're not the best Muslim, and there's some questions that you struggle to answer. What would be the best way to answer the questions for that person?
I mean, you can always refer them to other people as well. As time comes along, take them to the imam in the mosque, or a scholar or whoever it is. In time, you can link them up with the right people for more complicated questions and deeper stuff. Yeah, but obviously, for them, even a not very strong Muslim will still be more Islamic than what they are. If that makes sense, right? There'll be more Islam there that they see, and they can still learn a lot. You'll be surprised, brother. I'm not saying it's about yourself, but Muslims, we sometimes undersell ourselves as well. Like sometimes the converse is true. Like very non-practicing people, non-Muslims become Muslim because of them. Like one of my colleagues in IERA, he's a Hindu revert, and he reverted to Islam due to non-practicing Muslim friends. So they were not praying, they were doing bad things or whatever, but they still mentioned to him you should read the Quran, and that's what he went and did, and looked into it and got curious, because he probably saw the hypocrisy in them as well. He thought, these guys don't even pray, they're like drinking or whatever they're doing, right? But they're telling me to read this book, and then you get curious, don't you? Curiosity is what it's all about, isn't it? Curiosity, it sparks this, such an important thing, right? I don't know if Imran said to you about the story about the woman. Did he mention the woman there? Yesterday's training about, not yesterday's, when he came. So I'm just making the point about curiosity, brother, yeah? Curiosity is such a powerful thing. There was a story of there's a brother, he's got a Dawah table in London.
Oh yeah, he did it, and she spat on his face.
She spat on him, yeah. That story. Do you see, curiosity, when you poke it, yeah, it can bring amazing results. Like massive results in the Dawah, yeah? So if you're, what this non-practicing person did had that big result. So that revert, if they see you as a not super practicing, but they're still learning a lot from it. Obviously, you want to be the best ambassador. You don't want to be a hypocrite and be drinking and doing bad things or whatever it is. That's going to be a bad picture for the revert. So it's important to have the good akhlaq and everything like that, and the good character and manners and everything like that as best as you can. And like you say, more complex questions, you can refer them to someone with more knowledge, or look up something, a website on the internet or whatever it is, and help them seek the knowledge through that. As long as you know it's authentic stuff out there, inshallah. Yeah. So, obviously, define timings, availabilities. People are free at different times due to work or university or college. Like you might both be free on a Friday, for example, right? Just to give you a bit of an extreme example, but you're both free on a Friday. So you say to the person, look, I'll meet you at your house. I'll pick you up. I'll take you to Jummah. I'll teach you wudu 15 minutes before Jummah or whatever, and then we'll pray Jummah together, and then I'll drop you home. So you've got an ample opportunity to get loads of rewards, loads of it on your scales, and you're getting all that sadaqah jariyah, teaching them wudu and prayers and everything. Just the act of picking them up, bringing them to Jummah, this could strengthen him. This could be the make or break. Yeah. So the timings and availabilities. He's only free at weekends, or he works night shift. He's only free at certain times in the day. Find another brother that can meet him, or whatever. This is how you sort of build this rapport and get this understanding of the Revert. Remember, you are brothers and sisters in Islam, so do not make it overbearing. Don't interrogate them. It's not a session of interrogation. You know, why are you still drinking alcohol? Why have you still got a girlfriend? What are these tattoos on your arm? All this kind of nonsense, right? You don't want to vilify them, make them feel bad. They're going to have one foot in the past, guys. You know, I'm saying it for like the third time. 40 years of atheism, for example, or Christianity, coming to Islam doesn't come overnight. It is a gradual process. It takes time. Some sins don't disappear for maybe years, right? But they're still a Muslim. They still treat them as such. Yeah, there could be a better Muslim than you. You literally don't know. Yeah, because we all sin, right? So, we're going to look at some new true or falses now, different ones. It is compulsory upon any new Muslim to take a bath, you know, the ghusl, yeah, after taking the shahada. Brother's laughing a lot, mashallah. Right? What do you think, guys? True or false? So we've got a mix here, right? That's good. That's what I'm looking for. These are a bit deep. They're not immediately obvious, right? Let's put it this way. Look, if he doesn't take the ghusl, but he's taken shahada, is he still a Muslim?
Yes.
He is, isn't he? So the ghusl is a good step. It's a recommended step, of course it is, yeah? But what we're trying to express in the slides here is don't make it overbearing that, you know, you just go on and on about the ghusl. You've become a new Muslim now, you've got to take the ghusl, and you lose focus of other important things. You might have problems or other things going on. Yeah, if there's space and time and a place for it, let him do it. But don't make it priority number one. You know, we are a bit old-fashioned. We're a bit like, okay, he's becoming a new Muslim now. We've got to change his name. He's got to wear salwar kameez. He's got to learn Urdu. He's coming to the mosque. He's in the prayer. You know what I mean? We go a bit in that an old-fashioned sort of thinking, right? And this is what we're trying to warn about. That don't have these cliche sort of thinkings, right? You know, so it is compulsory upon any new Muslim to change their name when they accept Islam.
No.
No. So what do you think? Why is it absolutely no?
No. It's up to their
When they're ready.
When they're ready. Okay.
They have to.
They don't have to.
Only if the name is bad. It has to be Islamically bad.
That's it, exactly. They don't have to change it, number one. So David could become Dawood. He could remain as David because there's no bad meaning. But if there's a meaning of bad thing there, like shirk or kufr or whatever it is, or sins or something like khamr or alcohol, whatever the bad meaning is, right? Then it's better for them to change their name. Especially like a friend I know. He was named after like a Hindu god, and he changed his name. So it is compulsory upon any new Muslim man to get circumcised. Why do you say that?
It's a sunnah.
It's a sunnah, yeah? As far as I know, it's an important one, right? I think scholars may possibly differ over whether it's fard or not, yeah? But what could be an exception to having it done?
Age.
Good. So you've got an elderly guy. He's 99 years old. He's just had a heart operation. He hates the sight of blood. Yeah, he comes in the mosque. He's already about to fall over with his walking stick, and you start telling him as this mentor. You start telling him, you have to follow the sunnah. You have to follow. It's a fitrah act. You have to get your circumcision done. And the guy's having a second heart attack. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, I hate the thought. What's the circumcision? You know, he's so scared of what you're saying to him, right? That you could have a part of your private parts cut away. Yeah, and he's old. So this would be wrong, right? To ram it down every single revert's throat, you know, this idea to push it on them really rigidly is not hikmah, guys. I'm trying to express in this slide, hikmah is required in all these things, yeah? Yes, it might be fard, yeah? You can research it more. It might be fard. Definitely it's a sunnah, part of the fitrah, like the clipping the nails, etc., and it's a sunnah thing, right? I think some scholars say it is fard, and some say it's not. I'm not sure, but you can research it more. But it's very important to get it done, yeah? No doubt, but you've got to use the wisdom, yeah? Even youngsters get scared to have it done. Someone in their 30s or 20s or 30s, you tell them you're going to have this thing done, even they get like, how's it going to feel, this operation? You know, it's very scary, guys. You know, we had it done. I mean, we can't remember our circumcisions, can we? No one can. You can? Nah, how old were you then?
I was 10.
I was going to say, if you were a baby, if you were like 2 weeks old, you won't remember. If you're up to like a month old, you won't remember. Or even longer than that, you won't remember. But yet it was the most painful, memorable thing, right? Memorable in the sense that it's stamped into your mind, yeah? Because you're a baby, Allah removes that, you know, that pain and suffering, right? It's gone out of your memories because we were tiny little babies and we don't recall it, yeah? No one can really as a baby remember, right? And this is how someone equated this whole thing to like entering into Jannah as well. When the suffering and the pain in this life, when you enter Jannah, it's going to become like this forgotten memory. Yeah, and there'll be that man we know in the hadith, the one who suffered the most in the world, and he's asked by Allah, did you experience any pain and suffering? And he says, I experienced nothing. Nobody's dipped in Jannah for a split second. And he's like, did you experience any suffering in the world? And he's the guy that suffered the most. And what does he say? I experienced no pain, no suffering in the dunya. Yeah, because it's like the circumcision thing. Extreme pain and suffering, but it's removed from your memories or you've forgotten about it, right? So, a new Muslim woman cannot stay with her non-Muslim husband. What do you think?
Yes, she's not allowed to.
Good. She's not allowed to Islamically. There's no marriage now anyway. So if it's a Christian husband and she was a Christian lady before, that Christian contract is null anyway. There's no contract of marriage. Definitely not an Islamic one. It's not there. What do you think, guys? If there's a woman and she's, I don't know, she's in her 50s. She's got 5 kids, right? She's got a mortgage on the house with her husband. She works as a teacher. She's got a career. She's been with this guy for like 50 years, or 40 years, no, not 40, say 30 years, right? She's been married for 30 years, she's 50. She's been with her husband for 30 years, right? What do you expect her to do now? Just leave the house?
Dawah to her husband.
Good, yeah. But to leave the house would be what? Say she's, how? She's got a career to deal with, she's got to work tomorrow morning, she's got 5 kids, she's got a mortgage on the house, all these commitments, all this stuff going on, 30 years of marriage, and you're asking her, leave the husband, go out of the house straight away. It's a haram relationship, right? Next minute she's on the streets, she's homeless and she's out of a job and devastation, she leaves Islam, right? So again, these things all require hikmah or wisdom, putting the thing in the right place. You said a good point, brother. In fact, when I did this course in Exeter about a year ago, or 6 months ago, or whenever it was, basically a brother mentioned exactly that point. He said, we know a case like this, and the woman gave dawah to her husband while still being in the house. Obviously, relations come to an end. Yeah, there's no sleeping with the husband or whatever. That we know without a doubt. This would be haram, yeah, because they're not married anymore, yeah. But the dawah that she gave, he actually became a Muslim, and then they got married Islamically, and they remained in the same careers, whatever they've got, kids, everything's intact, yeah. So Allah is very generous. Allah is the most generous, yeah.
That must be very hard, you know.
For giving the dawah? Or?
No. For like when you are living with a person for 30 years and just.
Yeah, of course, because it is, but obviously Allah makes ways, doesn't it? Allah is the one that facilitates. Allah does strengthen the hearts of the Revert and the new Muslims. He helps them, so they see things. You know, if they really are putting their trust in Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps. You know what I mean? So it can be hard. For some people, it might be a mixed blessing. Yeah. Maybe that person wasn't good for them. Yeah, maybe they were close to divorce anyway. You just don't know the inner outs and details. You don't know.
Does that apply both ways?
Is that what? Sorry.
Does that apply both ways?
You mean a Muslim? What? Yeah. You mean a Muslim woman married to a Muslim man, or? Sorry, this was saying a Muslim woman cannot stay.
So a Muslim man.
Yeah.
A Muslim man.
A non-Muslim
wife.
I think it applies both ways, yeah.
If she's
whatever way around it is.
If she's Ahlul Kitab, some scholars say it's permissible.
It's permissible, isn't it, to marry? Yeah. You know, yeah, a Muslim man can marry a non-Muslim woman if she's Ahlul Kitab. You know, she's a Christian or a Jew. But there's a lot of fine conditions with that as well. It's not just an easy going. It's not like the Christians around us today, basically. You know what I mean? There's a number of things involved. Basically, you've got to be pure and chaste, like a virgin and stuff like that, and not leading a life of like looseness and stuff like that.
What would you do in that instance then? What's like the best way to go about it?
For which instance, brother?
For whichever way around. So for example,
so
Muslim woman, how's she gonna like be in the same bed with her?
Obviously, every case is different, brother. I can't give a generic one answer fits all sort of answer, yeah.
So for this scenario, the one you've been watching, the teacher,
yeah,
she's been with her husband for 30 years.
I mean, I would say to her, I mean, okay, you'd have to advise her, isn't it? Tell her to take certain steps and measures. I would say, you know, in the beginning, clarify to your husband that there's no marriage unless you become a Muslim, yeah? And then he might be inclined to then have that thought of becoming a Muslim, isn't it? Because he might love the lady and not want to lose her. But obviously, this is another problem in itself. This opens up another new problem, right? Which is a lot of these people, just to warn you, I'm not going to make it the answer that fits all, but many cases of people marrying, so like a non-Muslim man wants to marry a Muslim girl, so therefore he says, I'll become a Muslim now. In a lot of cases, or a number of cases, they're not doing it for Islam. The man isn't doing it for Islam. He's doing it just to get the girl, for the woman or the man, or the girl to the man or the man to the girl. So this is from my experience. It sometimes works out amazingly. Sometimes the man becomes a Muslim and he becomes the most practicing, best Muslim, and he makes the girl stronger. But sometimes it can go completely ugly the other way, totally wrong. And I've experienced a case as well firsthand where it ended up becoming a nightmare case. This girl, she became a Muslim. And she, she married this guy. She even fell pregnant. Then she started not practicing at all. She started doing really bad things from the olden days, like drinking alcohol and doing nonsense. And then she started accusing him of rape and got the police involved. It just went pear-shaped for the guy. He had to, and then the baby was lost. She somehow lost the baby, and the guy just divorced and just fled. He got away from her. You know what I mean? But it was one of them cases where she looked very genuine in the beginning. Yes, I'm doing it for Islam. I'm doing this purely for Allah. This shahada is not for my man. It's for Allah. So I'm coming into Islam for the reason of Islam. It's always painted out like that with a lot of these cases. But don't take this as this is my experience. And someone actually preempted me. He warned me years ago. His brother Yusuf Chambers, he used to be a trustee of IERA. He did say to me from his experience, a lot of these cases, they're not genuine shahadas, right? There always is a girl involved or a man involved, and they're doing it for the dunya reason, the wrong reason, right? And from what I experienced, quite a few cases are like that, I'd say.
Yeah. That's even why scholars discourage for Muslim to look for non-Muslim while they're single Muslim ladies.
That's similar to the meat of Ahl al-Kitab. So we can eat the meat of Ahl al-Kitab. But scholars still say, if you're in the West, and there's meat of Ahl al-Kitab, which is a whole controversial thing in itself, but if the meat is still there, the scholars of the East, if you like, they still say to the people of the West, still eat from the shops, halal shops from your Muslim brothers and sisters, because you're supporting their businesses. So sometimes there's a ruling, there's a thing which is allowable, but there's other things that are more recommended. Does that make sense? Even though it's allowed. Anyway, so the point about these slides is, don't be too hung-drawn or go all out on these things. Oh, you must change your name now, you must do this and that, wear this Muslim clothing, force them, make them feel awkward. Maybe that clothing, they go home one day wearing that clothing, their family finds out they're a Muslim and all the cat is out of the bag and everything goes pear-shaped. So please have wisdom, brothers, with the reverts. The best thing is, like I mentioned before, shower them with compassion, mercy, love, kindness, become their best friend within a few minutes, just be their buddy. That's all they need is love, guys. I'm telling you, a lot of Muslims are missing out on this factor. That's why we're in the horrible state we're in, Allah is al-Wahdud, He's the all-loving, There's so many people out there, we live in a, like I mentioned earlier, the state of the Ummah we're at the lowest point. Obviously, there's peaks and troughs, and the saying in Islam is you can only come so low and then you come up. So I believe there is an Islamic resurgence, an Islamic awakening. So more people are becoming practicing, people are coming to Islam, there's this awakening, However, we need to get out of the wrong state, if that makes sense. And a lot of the, for example, there might be a Muslim family, Hamza mentions this, there could be a Muslim family and the parents, like the father for example, due to culture or pride or cultural norms, he never says to his son or his daughters or his kids that I love you. Do you understand? And the kid grows up, whole life, only maybe on Eid he gets a bit of hugs or whatever, but there's no, this compassion of love. We should be very frequent with our kids. If any of you have got kids or you're going to get married and have kids, always tell them daily, I love you, hug them and everything. Shower them in that goodness. Because remember, we live in a world again, in the West here, where evil is just one finger span away. Everything's around us. Zina, alcohol, music, this thing, that thing, all the calls, their desires. It's right in our faces, guys. So you want your child to be empowered and, feeling strength in their Islam, feeling a sense of happiness on their route to Jannah, inshallah. That's the idea, So bring this to the reverts as well. And what you'll find is that revert support becomes very easy, it becomes very rewarding and interesting and a good, like a new halal way of getting rewards, of course, and a good way of getting massive rewards, So, I think I clicked it, there's a bit of a lag when I click it, right. So now, the teaching phase, step 2 of the methodology. So Ben is the person we're going to speak about now in an imaginary revert. So Ben is a new Muslim. He's going through situations where he would need support at any odd time. Whose contact details should we provide him with? It's a bit of a trick question, actually.
Brother Muhammad.
Brother Muhammad. Who's Brother Muhammad? You're Brother Muhammad, Okay. That's good. That is good. You're in the right area. You put yourself first, which is excellent. Yes.
Someone who's also oddly free.
Oddly free?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next guy is more free than you, sort of. Good. Okay, but say The next guy's free, he's free, but he's only human, isn't he? One day he might be sick. One day he might be called to a wedding invite. He has to travel out of the town. He can't be there for the revert. You know? Yes.
Someone who knows more about the deen.
Good, but he's only human as well. Yes.
IERA's number.
IERA's number. Mursal's number. So Mursal gets no sleep, then they can right? Think a bit higher. Think a bit transcendently.
The mosque.
And the mosque isn't going to help him, is it? The mosque can't talk.
Who forgot this?
Who owns the mosque?
Caretakers.
Caretakers. Trustees.
Allah.
Trustees. Who? Allah. That's the right answer. The brother said it, man. The brother's concentrating. He's bringing in the pizza. He's ahead on the course than you guys, right? It's Allah. Of course, it's Allah. This is a trick question, right, guys? It's only thrown in there to get you thinking the importance, right? But importance is here that we will try to support. That Ben might need this. Ben might need help at this time or that time or the other. What's very critical and very, very important is linking Ben to Allah. It's the only way he's going to become the strong revert, yeah? So every time he's got a problem, get him used to making dua, asking Allah, praying salah, asking in sajda, doing all these things. This is the key factor that is going to make Ben strong, yeah? We don't want to mollycoddle. Yeah? Mollycoddle means hand-holding. We don't want to hand-hold these reverts because it won't work. You can't practically do it, yeah? You can help them, yeah, you don't want to treat them like little kids. You want them to get empowered. And you can't practically do that. You can't do everything for them. Yeah? You know, if they reach the age of 20, your parents don't still spoon feed you at the age of 20. They fed you when you were a baby. So you've got to let them go one day, yeah? And over-helping, when you do this mollycoddling, when you over-help, I don't know if you know the story about the caterpillar and the butterfly. That story about the caterpillar and the moth, yeah? So what happens is, you have a caterpillar, you know it goes through metamorphosis. It changes into a butterfly, yeah? So it crawls into that shell thing, there's a chrysalis, it forms this egg thing, right? And then it transforms into a butterfly and it pokes its wings out, busts through the chrysalis, it breaks through, and then it starts flying away and it gets strength, yeah? So this man, he's watching this happen, yeah? This other man is observing the thing's trying to poke its wings through, right? He's trying to poke its wings through, and what he does is, he tears open the chrysalis. He tears it open for the caterpillar to make it easier for the butterfly to come out, yeah? It dies, doesn't it? Because there's a process that Allah's made, that when it pushes with his wings, they fill up with a fluid that makes them normal, and then it can fly. But he ruined the process, he over-helped it, yeah? And this is what we don't want to do. We don't want to destroy the reverts either, yeah? Very important. We want to nurture them, care for them, support them, and be very helpful like this. Jazakallah khair, thanks brothers. Right? So, what's the next bit? Pray with ease. This is a little acronym to explain the prayer. So, how would you, if Ben is going to pray his first prayer, what would you tell him about the prayer?
The importance of it.
Good. And how would you explain this? What would you say the prayer is, for example?
Standing before Allah. It's a special meeting with Allah, for example.
Precisely, brother. So there's physical movements, yeah? There's the sajda, ruku, wudu, all these things that are linked to the prayer. But the key thing is what our brother said. Our brother said a very important thing, talking to Allah, communicating to Allah. The spiritual connection is what you want to get into the mind of the revert. Again, it's that thing about connecting them to Allah first, yeah? So explain to them, this prayer is where you're talking to your Lord, yeah? This prayer is where you're talking to your Lord. It's very, very, very important, guys, that you explain this clearly to them. Then you can explain the details. Okay, and we've got this acronym, pray with ease, right? Purification. Of course, there's wudu, isn't there? How do you make wudu? Teach them, isn't it? Get the rewards, yeah? Recitation, Fatiha, Ikhlas, whatever you want to learn and recite of the Quran, yeah? So we know there's recitation. Actions, yes, we know the movements. You teach them the movements. Physically show them, again, a chance for rewards, and you're ready, right? Then we explain to them, what is the prayer? They can ask questions. Why do we pray 5 times a day? Why is there sajda? Why is there this? Why is there that? Let them ask questions. Let them explore and try and understand this spiritual connection. Because it's the prayer is not easy, guys. If you think about it, praying 5 times a day, scholars have said, if you're going to do it properly, it takes effort and time. You need khushu, focus, and then you hope your prayer is accepted. So praying 5 times a day, I don't think anyone in the room can say it's just like drinking water, it's easy. It's not. It takes effort, yeah? Waking up for fajr, doing extra prayers, having a proper wudu, not missing any water out on any part of your body, qibla, right direction, clean clothing. Add it all together, and it's a struggle, right? So show them obviously, if you can show them the physical movements, how to pray, these are the movements, I can teach you all of that stuff, and then encourage them. Tell them something encouraging. Look, since I've been praying, I found that this problem stopped, or that one or the other, yeah? Very, very important to clarify these sort of concepts, right? So now, the empowering phase, right? So now this is mentoring and empowering new Muslims, this next phase, right? So now we're going to revisit some of these old true or falses that we looked at in the beginning. So new Muslims usually have a stronger iman than born Muslims because they chose to be Muslims. What do you think, guys? We had this earlier on, yeah?
False.
We had it in the beginning. Who thinks it's false? Who said false, sorry?
Me.
Okay, why do you think... good, you're right with false anyway. Explain why.
I think people that are taking the Shahada don't fully understand what they're getting themselves into most of the time.
Good.
Secondly, they don't know the practical aspects of what they have to do. And plus, once you're a Muslim, you go into a state of confusion because of this conflicting true lifestyle. And a lot of people might not just say like, I haven't signed up for this.
Excellent, brother. So what does it kind of like connect to? You know this thing about, what's the word you say? You know, iman. How does iman increase? Who's got a stronger iman? Someone that is doing what?
Someone that's obedient to Allah.
Obedient to Allah. And disobedience makes it come down, yeah? Makes it lower, yeah? So that's how iman works. There could be an old Muslim who's got super strong iman, yeah? That's how he is. He's very obedient, he's very pious, right? So iman, it increases with good deeds, serving Allah, yeah? And it decreases with disobedience, kufr, disbelief, sins, etc. Makes the iman decrease. Right, so what you have to understand, we don't make this statement that new Muslims have a stronger iman. That they might be super happy and on cloud 9, they've just become a Muslim, they've got lots to say about Islam, they love the new religion, they've been kept in the dark for so many years, they've come out of the closet now, that high feeling, right? That doesn't equate to iman necessarily, because they might have a lot of ignorance as well. They might not have a clue what they're doing, they think that Islam is X, Y, Z and they're wrong in their thinking, right? So the next question was, new Muslims need extra support because of their situation. Think a little bit deeply though. Could we not argue that don't old Muslims need a lot of support as well?
Yes.
They do, don't they? Yeah? Old Muslims, look at the state of the Ummah, I mentioned it earlier. Yeah, we're in a state where kufr and shirk and everything, shirk especially, is manifest in the Ummah. Go to India, go to Pakistan, grave worship, calling upon the dead, Dawah around the graves. All of it, we're in a state of real declined state, yeah? We're not at a high state, right? So Muslims are themselves in need of so much support, right? Or extra support, you could argue, yeah? As I mentioned, ad-din and nasiha, yeah? However, the point is, we would say that new Muslims or reverts need a particular type of support, yeah? For them specifically, like they might need to know the basics of prayer and this and that and the other, yeah? And in terms of extra support, there could be a revert and he's a Copt from Christianity in Egypt. He knows the Arabic language. He's been using the word Allah more than us. Yeah, he can read Arabic fluently and everything, speak it fluently. His neighbours most of them are Muslims. He comes over and it's like he doesn't need much support. He's like, I can pick up the Quran and understand it fully. I've even memorised bits of it, yeah. And it's easy. Do you understand what I'm saying, right? So some cases it's like that. So new Muslims are more tested than other Muslims. What do you think, guys?
False.
Good. Why do you think it's false, brother?
We all got our own tests, individual tests.
Good.
Outside of each other.
Excellent. Right. So we've all got our individual tests, right? So who's tested the most?
Prophet.
Yeah.
And then who?
Right.
Anbiya.
The Anbiya, the prophets. Then those like them. Then those like them. Yeah. So we don't say reverts are tested more. We can't make this blanket statement. Somebody might say, well, Murtaza, you mentioned those big 12 challenges. They could be homeless. They could be abused, they could be attacked, their family disowns them, all that bad stuff that was going on. But there could be an old Muslim, right? A long-term Muslim, suddenly the doctors tell him you've got cancer. You're going through chemotherapy and operations and whatever, right? So it's a big test for him. So don't generalise, don't say just because they're reverts, they're going to be going through so much more testing or whatever. It's not the case, right?
Brother, sorry,
yes.
There's a famous statement from Umar ibn Khattab who talks about a statement, I'm sure you heard of it.
Yeah.
He says that I fear more from the born Muslims. I'm sure you heard of this maybe? That talks about, I think he's making a point about those people, Muslims who are born, can't take Islam for granted, then compared to those who lived in the Jahiliyyah days who entered Islam, so those new Muslims reverts, who actually have that booster because they found the faith, they're actually actively seeking the truth.
Yeah, there's enthusiasm there and stuff like that, if that makes sense, right, for the reverts.
Like you said, it doesn't apply.
But it doesn't apply to every case. Yeah, these statements are trying to get you to think that you know, we're trying to get you to think that, if we look at the next slide, that basically we don't want to have this like, as I mentioned earlier, this need to mollycoddle them, right? To handhold them and do everything for them, treat them like children. If that makes sense, yeah? Absolutely. So we don't want to make that false assumption and do everything for them. We want to mentor them and empower them, strengthen them, make them autonomous, but not do everything for them, because practically we cannot do this. And Revert support is lacking a lot anyway. It's one of the biggest lacking areas in the whole Dawah life cycle, if you like, yeah? Lots of people doing Dawah, but little people focus on the reverts. And this is why, inshallah, Brother Ansar has got a brilliant plan for this institute, the building, the actual centre, which will be a mosque and XYZ and a training room, and it will have this facility for reverts, a reverts area, whatever it is, just like a little room, a training room, maybe it's overnight accommodation for those who are homeless. We don't, whatever Allah's got in store for you. If you do this support and you support the reverts in this way, you're going to open up massive doors of rewards, right? And it's very important. You'll be shocked, you know. There's like Green Lane Mosque in Birmingham. They would open their doors in winter time and literally put sleeping bags on all the floor of the mosque and let all the homeless people come in for like the cold time of winter, yeah, the freezing time, yeah, and they'll give them coffee and whatever, tea and soup or whatever is going on, food and stuff, right? So the reverts, the homeless have got a safe haven to go. The mosque has now become an open ground. You've got to sleep all through the night, it's freezing, yeah? So they put the heating on, let them sleep there. So it becomes a homeless shelter. And I think one of the guys that was the homeless guy, he became a Muslim just by coming in the mosque. He started joining in for the prayers. They helped him get his old job back as well, because he was like a carpenter. So they helped him build up a business again. So he became autonomous, and it's like a good story, do you understand? So you looking after the reverts is an extension or a continuation of that same Dawah sort of approach. You've got a revert now, he can easily leave Islam, he's got a problem. Say he's homeless, for example, or say he's just not, he's not like homeless, all out homeless, but he's like financially struggling and he needs shelter for like 3 months. Maybe at your institute you've got rooms or a building or something where you can stay. You don't need a specially built bedroom, but it could just be the room you let him stay in the centre or whatever you do. But keep that element of reverts in there and it'll be really good, yeah? So basically, what is mentoring? So mentoring is a partnership, yeah, through which one person shares knowledge, skills, information and perspective to encourage the personal growth of someone else. That's what mentoring is, right? A simple way of kind of like empowering someone else, yeah, or mentoring them, seeing them through their challenges and helping them, right? So the way we do it in IERA or in this Dawah training, this new Muslim mentorship training course, there's a 3-step mentoring methodology. Active listening is the first step, empathy and trust is second, and empowerment is third. So what is active listening? Does anyone know what active listening is?
Hearing them out.
Is what, sorry?
Listening very attentive to what they have to say, maybe.
Good. Anyone else can add to that? Yes, brother?
Listening and doing something about it.
Okay. Focus more on the listening. Yes, brother?
For clues.
Excellent. Anything else?
Listening actively.
That's what it says, brother, yeah. How do you do that? How do you do that?
Not paying attention.
Yeah? And what would you not do, for example?
Fiddle
around, look around, interrupt them, let them spill out everything. Listen to it all, yeah?
Get a dialogue going.
You wouldn't necessarily, you could get a dialogue going, but you would let them spill out everything. So you don't interrupt, you completely listen, but you listen with a view to understand. That's what we should do. That with all our listening. We shouldn't listen with a view to like orchestrate an answer in your mind. You know, we do that a lot nowadays, isn't it? We try to build up an answer before the person's finished, right? Which means you are thinking about that and not really listening. Right? What you do, listen to try to understand. Okay, he said this is going on, and you build up this your understanding in your mind, right? So that's active listening. Empathy and trust. Obviously, empathizing is where you see the problem from their shoes, right? You really, like the prophets all did this. They empathized with the poor folk, the needy, the orphans, the oppressed. When they were starving, the poor folk, the orphans really, the prophets really felt it. They were like, we know what it's like to be hungry. They felt those empty stomachs rumbling. They really felt for them. They gave them money and help and assistance and food. They really empathized. It's not just sympathy where I feel sorry for your situation. They felt as if they were in their shoes. I will do my best to bring you money and food. I'll go somewhere and come back to you. I'll help you. There was empathy and action and stuff like that, right? A real connection. Trust obviously goes without saying. That's to build up this links with the revert. So you build up a trust, yeah, where they can trust you, and they become your. Remember what I said? You're that window of Islam. They're seeing all of Islam through your actions, your behaviour, what you say, what you don't say, how you say it. They're taking you as trust is there, guys. Yeah, they're learning Islam from you, right? Which obviously is why it's important to stick to your word and be honest, etc. Right? So empowerment, we'll cover that, but that really consists of bringing Quran, Hadith, so Quran and Sunnah, and any experiences that you've got in your life, right? To give them empowerment. Yeah, so it's knowledge and it's experience, two things, which where you get empowerment from. And the last bit of advice about that 3-step methodology is make it inspirational, right? So if you're explaining to someone about dua, for example, say you explain to a Revert about dua, yeah? How would you explain dua, guys? How would you explain it, sorry? What would you explain dua is?
Communication between you and your Lord. And you can ask for anything, guidance, advice.
Okay. Anything else?
It can be things to connection.
Good. Brilliant.
It's your basically one-to-one connection, basically one-to-one call towards Allah.
A one-to-one call.
You're talking to Allah.
Talking to Allah, yeah?
One-to-one.
How would you make it inspirational?
Is it like to go show your emotion, show all your problems, stress, open up?
To open up to Allah, to talk to Allah.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about, yeah? But how would you make it inspirational, the concept of dua? How would you make it inspirational?
Immersion.
Tell them like a story.
Good. Give me an example.
If you're going through difficulties, calamities, you know there is always one there who's listening and stuff like that.
But how would you, what did I just ask you? How would you make it more? Give me an example in a second.
Real life experience.
Good.
Something that's happened to you.
That's what I was looking for. What you two guys are saying.
Try and relate to
Something that happened to you, tell them that. Don't just make it like black and white theology. You know, we raise our hands, we ask Allah, then you start writing the answers. You know, like a textbook. It's good. Give them the basics like that. You can include it, but make it inspirational. Means like, for example, like I was driving down the road. There must be some bad parts of Milton Keynes or whatever, where you got the chavs and whatever, right? And in this dodgy area, and you drove through it, all of it, right? So you're driving along. Say you're in the car, you're driving somewhere very far. You went through the bad area. Your wife's in the back. She's pregnant. She's not feeling well. You're running out of fuel now. Yeah. Your mobile phone's died. You've lost the sat nav, but you're on the motorway. You just know there's services that might come up, and you're on the red. You're on the fuel, and your phone is dead. So even if you break down, you can't call the services. So and this time you were begging Allah, let me reach the next services, let them be close by. You spilled out your heart to Allah. You begged Him, you begged Him, you begged Him. You know, in this difficult circumstance, yeah? You begged Allah, and then somehow, alhamdulillah, services came up. Your car literally cuts out at the services at the pump. You manage to fill up, you've got your wallet, you pay the guy 20, 30 pounds, or you fill up a full tank, and you manage to go home, you know the route home. Even though you haven't got sat nav, you know you can find it through the road directions or whatever. So you get your wife home, she's safe, sound, baby safe, everything's safe, and you know your dua was answered. Because there's no way, you know, you literally conks out, car runs out of fuel in the services, in the station there, right? So this is like a bit of an exaggerated story, but it gives you the idea that bring something in your life that happened. You'll never believe it, brothers. I was doing this and that, and this ran out, and that happened. Allah answered my dua, and I was begging Allah, I made dua, and it got answered. We've all had this happening in our lives. At some point this happened, right? We might have forgotten when or the details, but try to recall in something, for an example like dua, try to recall where something like that happened, where you made it really inspirational, where you make it really inspirational with an example. Dua is a good one because it's quite memorable, but there could be other things, like for example, you could say, someone might say to you, and we're going to do the role plays in a minute, but somebody might say to you, you know, I have got massive debts, right? Like I used to have a gambling habit, or I just picked up lots of student loans, I didn't know the interest was wrong, I've got like 20 grand of debt, what do I do? I'm finding finances are really tight. Then you say, look, this is where the empathy and trust will come in. So it's that slide previously with the active listening, empathy and trust. You know, you might say to them, look, subhanAllah, brother, I understand what you're going through. I came into Islam with a lot of debt myself, yeah? And you know what I did over the years? I learned this dua, yeah? I learned that dua. As I gradually learned more about Islam, I learned a specific dua. And when I started using that dua, I found that the debt disintegrated. It was a big changeover. But that day I started using that authentic dua, I used it regularly. I found that my debt decreased. In the end, Allah cleared all the debt. Yeah? So this would be an inspirational example of something that worked in your life. You made an effort now to learn a dua and it worked. Yeah? These are examples of of inspiration for the Revert and real life stories, and that's what we bring in experiences. But it doesn't have to all be like that. A lot of it, or a proportion of it, will be Quran and Sunnah. Yeah, in the Quran it says this, in the Hadith it says this. Yeah, Islam says that. There's a Hadith about guidance, for example. So there's a Hadith about death and this thing and that thing, and all that knowledge is there. And guys, don't let Shaitan trick you. Everyone in this room's got lots of knowledge about Islam. Yeah, compared to the non-Muslims or the reverts, we're like scholars. Does that make sense? We've got loads of knowledge, guys. We know about, we're not true ulama, of course, but what I'm saying is, we know things like, I don't know, the rituals of Hajj, yeah? What is Muzdalifah, where's Mina, where's this and that, what goes on, what's the stoning, yeah, what is zakah, how much percentage is it, all the details. We could write volumes and books on Islam, right, of knowledge of Islam. And what you want to do, you've got all of that, but the revert's like a baby, they know next to nothing. So you want to empower them with what you've already got, that knowledge. Share them. Look how much mercy there is in Islam and how merciful Allah is. Share that knowledge and empower them, yeah? That's the idea. So now, we're near to the end now. We're going to look at a few case studies, maybe one or two. We'll try two. The first one, so I've got 3 case studies, but I'm going to look at number 2. Yeah, number 2. So basically it's about Nathan, who's an imaginary revert. So Nathan feels really low. He keeps wondering, why are my parents not guided? That's all he keeps thinking about, right? What he finds being the most difficult is the fact that when his parents will die, he won't be able to make dua for them. And each time he thinks about it, he feels really depressed, right? So Nathan's going through this tough time. He used to be happy around you when you first saw him as a revert. Now things are spilling out. He's really going through this depression, right? He's really sad, he's really upset. He's very much in a low state, yeah, maybe low iman as well. And he's come to you with this predicament, this situation. What I want you to do, guys, is pair up together. Everyone get into pairs. One of you is going to pretend to be Nathan, and one of you is the long-term Muslim. And what you've got to do is active listening, empathy, and trust, and empowerment. Remember what I said? So first listen. So hear Nathan out. Hear Nathan out. Yeah? You've got to do empathy and trust. Empathy and trust, yeah? And then you've got to empower Nathan, right? So practice that for about 5 minutes, practice. And then 2 of you are going to come to the front.
Let's say for the people that revert back into Islam, they get twofold reward. The difficulties that you face. Throughout Islam, there's been scenarios like his father was an idol.
Okay, so you have to listen. So you were listening. I was thinking I'm going to turn around this
Whenever in my life I almost feel the same way sometimes, even though I was a sometimes I found them not doing the way I feel like they're not the same expectations of how I they're like and I feel that way. Even though I don't know exactly I don't know for myself. Yeah, about 6 I just When I see those around me not praying, not fasting, I'm scared for bearing in mind, all I got is just too sad about it.
Brother Ibrahim, I've been low for the Brother Ibrahim, I've been low for the past few days.
So what is it?
I'm just worried that my parents haven't become Muslim yet, and it really hurts me because I can't imagine the fact that once they have passed away, I can't do anything for them, and they will end up in hellfire.
Do you want to have, can I have that handkerchief, brother? Anyway, I understand what you mean, brother Nathan. But you have to understand, brother. And coming to that, I understand how you feel, even though I'm not a born Muslim. But in the same time, I know, I see many stories like this, alhamdulillah, but in the same time, I was a time in my life, I was not as practicing, I feel I wasn't as practicing as I feel I should have been. I made mistakes, I fall short, you know, I did things which I know I shouldn't be doing. And I know Allah was watching me this whole time. But in the same time, brother, I come to realize, alhamdulillah, from the help of Allah, Allah guided me. And He helped me change my ways. Almost like the same Allah did to you. And in the same time, when I see that, alhamdulillah, Allah's giving me that light, giving me those eyes of seeing everything the right way. I've seen, Allah allowed me to see, you know, the well-known function which is among others. The people who fell into that same ditch I fell into, which Allah taken me out of. And when I see that, it grieves me, you know, seeing people in sin, you know, not praying, not reading Quran. Even when I went to school, you know, and this is actually a reality, by the way, that I see Muslims do things which they shouldn't be doing, smoking, having girlfriends, sitting on laps of girls, all of this stuff, which obviously pains me as a Muslim, you know, seeing that, you know, because it's from our nature that, you know, this is not right, Allah doesn't like this. But in the same time, brother, we have to understand that guidance is in the hands of Allah. We have to understand, it's only Allah's control. That Allah guides whoever He wants, you know, that we cannot force guidance on anyone, nor can we take guidance away from anyone as well. You know, that's the thing we have to understand. And secondly, that there's many cases, examples that Allah gave us of people who Allah loved very much, who faced the same situation exactly, who Allah loved very much, who are going to be in the highest of paradise, who were tested the most, who were in the most difficulty, more than me and you. And these were people who are known as the prophets. And one example I'll give you is one prophet known as Prophet Ibrahim. Not me, Prophet Ibrahim. And this Prophet Ibrahim, he was living in a land full of shirk, full of blasphemy, disbelief. You know, people were worshipping idols. He had a father who was an idol manufacturer, who used to make idols with his own hands and worship and prostrate to that same idol. Just imagine that, subhanAllah. And despite that, Ibrahim seeing that, he obviously was intuitive. He to ask his father, "Oh father, why, you know, don't do this, why are you doing this?" And eventually his father, he backslashed at Ibrahim. He was not happy with what he said, and he threatened to even kill him for that. You know, he was stoned him to death. So what happened was, that being said, even though Ibrahim was patient, he expressed his love for his father, he was patient. Unfortunately, he did not accept Islam, and he died in that same way.
So what do you recommend me to do?
What I recommend you to do is do what Ibrahim did, was that he was patient. And he understood that this is from the Qadr of Allah, and how, you know, Allah guides whoever He wants. So despite the fact that he was the Khalil Rahman, the friend of Allah, the best friend of Allah, even though he was the best friend, he had faced such a difficulty. And what about me and you, we cannot class ourselves with that sort of station. Only if Allah gives that to us. So my advice to you brothers is to be patient, make dua for your parents, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make inshallah for you.
Make dua for my parents.
Active listening, I mean, listen them out.
Brother, one more time.
Interrupt him. Yes.
Brother Ibrahim, I got good news. They have become Muslim.
So that's excellent, brothers, right? So you get the idea, brothers, right? It's about listening out to any problems, that the revert might have. Obviously, empowerment in this case. Remember, like Nathan has already almost like sealed the coffin. He's like, my parents are going to the hellfire. But how does Nathan know that? Isn't it? Right? They could be. There's a hadith in Islam that talks about there'll be the person that's doing the deeds of the hellfire until they're one hand span away from hellfire, and then they end up doing the deeds of the people of Jannah, and they end up in Jannah, and vice versa. Yeah. So you could be that close to the destiny, and Allah changes it. You end up getting guided. So this is what you've got to explain to in this sort of scenario. You could bring that hope to Nathan. And they're not guided now, okay, they're not Muslims now, but Allah guided you, Nathan, can't He guide them? And Nathan will say, yeah, I got guided, and I was once not guided, so it's possible they could be as well. And you could tell them this could happen later in their life, and that you're a source to empower, or a source of goodness for them, like you serve your parents, you do good to your parents, this is going to increase the chances of good things happening, etc. Right? So, this is how you kind of do this role play. Should we do one more last one, do you think?
Yeah.
One last one. Okay. So you're getting into them, right?
Brother, one of the most beautiful story I heard was from Abdurrahman Green.
Yes.
His father.
Yes, he became a Muslim at the end.
It was amazing.
It was amazing, and he was dying in the hospital. Yeah. Amazing.
When he took a shahada on his deathbed.
He did, yeah. There's a video on YouTube.
Can we have one more role play for case study 2?
Yeah. No, I'm going to move on to a different one because time is ticking.
So there's a video of his dad being Muslim on his deathbed.
There's a video. Yeah. Yeah. It's a video, 20-minute video. Yeah. If you type in Abdurrahim Green, father, death, or something like that, and it'll come up. Yeah, he became a Muslim right at the end of his life. Inshallah. So.
Who wants to do the role play? Put your hands up. If not, we'll have to pick somebody.
No, we're not going to do the same one. We're going to do a different one now. Yeah, we're going to do a different case study now, so it's totally different. Okay. So let's do case study 1, for example. So Dan has accepted Islam 6 months ago. However, he never dared informing his parents about his new way of life. Lying to them and hiding his beliefs start becoming more and more difficult for him, and he doesn't really know what he should do. So that's the situation. It's a bit of things are in the dark, hidden from the parents. It's becoming more and more difficult to lie to them and hide Islam. How would you break, or what would you do? And this is a point I want to make. Sorry, I should have made this point in the course. If you ever do mentor a revert, right? Don't make decisions for them, by the way. Right? Don't make a fatwa or ruling or decision for them. Give them the options in Islam and let them choose. Don't pigeonhole them in one way, because if you make an erroneous decision for them, they'll come back and blame it on you, basically. Yeah, it's quite an obvious point, but it's quite important. Like you might say to this person, "Oh, you must divorce your wife now." And if things go pear-shaped and wrong, he'll come back and say, "But you're the one who told me in Islam I have to divorce my wife." So don't make final decisions for them. Always let them choose themselves. Say to them, "Look, in Islam, the halal way is marriage, and that's how we get married, and that's how we live our lives. Yeah, the haram way is girlfriend, boyfriend. So it's your choice. What do you want to do? Stay as girlfriend, boyfriend, or get married and do this halal thing or whatever, right? So this is how you explain it in Islam. You give them the options, yeah? So should we do case study 1 about him hiding Islam, or we'll case study 3, which is, we've done the Nathan one. 3 is, in the other course, I think there's 6 of them. 3 is basically saying, John says to you, I don't know if I should tell you that, sorry, I don't know if I should tell you that, but I have done so many bad things in the past, and there are still many sins I find really difficult to stop. I feel really disgusted about myself and don't think I deserve to be a Muslim. This seems like quite a good one. So he's on the edge of his Iman sort of thing now. Right, so let's practice this, guys, in the pairs again. You can read through it again if you need to check it. So practice this for like 5 minutes, and then 2 of you can come forward and give it a go, inshallah.
Are you going to be John? Huh? You're going to be John? Okay.
I'm taking the...
Okay.
I love it. It's so simple, bro. You got to leave so much time. I don't know what to do, but I've been doing this for
nobody is perfect. In fact, Allah's message is كلكم خير الخطائين التوابون. The best of all sinners return back to Allah. We have sinned, you sinned. The reality is that the one who is most beloved of Allah is the one who is surrogates from doing this. Once you become faithful to Allah by doing acts of obedience, Iman, and you faithfully preach, that way it will help you. Never lose hope. قل يا عبادي الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم لا إن الله
realizing mistakes,
never lose hope in Allah. Just try your best and you must get closer to Allah by doing acts of obedience and abstain from the wrong habits, abstain from the wrong crowd, the wrong friends, try your best to go to the masjid and pray jama'ah, make supplication to Allah to guide you. I hope that that's very helpful.
Okay, who wants to come forward, guys? Hassan, yeah?
Who wants to come forward?
Hassan and
These two sounded quite good, I could overhear a bit. Do you guys want to come forward? You and the brother. Go for it.
You took the wrong Hassan.
I'll take a step to you. Go for it. I could hear your one. I could hear a lot about the darkness to the light and this and that. It sounded proper intense, like a movie or something like that.
I'm nervous, I'm thinking I'm gonna flop.
Don't worry. Just be natural, get into the role. So let's read through it once more just before you start, yeah? John says to you, I don't know if I should tell you that, but I have done so many bad things in the past and there are still many sins I find really difficult to stop. I feel really disgusted about myself and I don't think that I deserve to be a Muslim anymore. So he's like giving up on his Islam basically, yeah? And he's making this conclusion. So how would you, what would you tell him, guys? How would you do it?
Yeah, I'm alright, but it's just a couple of things, you know, that just rose through my head. Been doing a lot of bad stuff, you know, in my teenage years, and I'm still doing them now. And it's a bad habit, just spiraling out of control. I don't think I can be Muslim. I know you told me about it. I don't deserve to be. I don't feel clean.
Why? Look, we're all human beings. We all make mistakes. Our nature is to make sins, but the only way we can stop sinning is have a God fearing of Allah, having God conscious of Allah. Keep in mind that our Lord is around us. If we can't see Him, He sees us. And the only way for you to establish your salah regularly and to have the dhikr on your tongue regularly as well, saying La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. So continuously having the shahada on your tongue, repeating the shahada will be the main thing. And that's the only way, you know, you can get closer to Allah. You never know. The sins could be large as an ocean, big as a mountain, yeah? But for that one good deed, you never know, that one good deed could lead you to Jannah. You never know. You know, there was a story about that lady who fed water to her dog. She was a prostitute, but could have that one good deed of feeding the dog, yeah, water from her boot, that led her into a Jannah. So, you know, you never know. Even if it was giving a pound to charity every Friday for Jummah, that could lead to Jannah. No, don't worry about your sins. Always remember Allah is always with me, and always thinking about your sins, and everything should be fine, hopefully.
Thank you, Shaykh Hassan.
Excellent, brothers. What did you think, guys? That was excellent. Brilliant. You know, see the brother, he mentioned about Allah's mercy. That was very important. Allah's mercy is like mountain. Is like you can do sins like the mountains. Allah can forgive it all. Yeah, that's very important, right? So we'll end there, inshallah. End of the course, inshallah. Does anyone have any quick questions about anything in the course? Yes, brother.
Yeah, I was going to mention this earlier.
Yes.
I think kind of went out of my mind.
Yeah.
What if you're giving a dawah to a lady?
Okay.
What would happen then? How would you conduct yourself?
How would you conduct yourself, brother?
No, I'm just saying that. obviously, like I mentioned, building up
I'm only kidding. I started shutting it down. Is that alright?
Yeah, that's fine. But it's a probability.
Yeah.
Come across a lady that needs support and.
Yeah, I mean it could be in different forms. There could be a non-Muslim that you're giving dawah to, yeah, or it could be a revert, so he's a new sister. End of the day, brother, similar cases in the sense that, look, you know, we're a minority in this country. Muslims are a super minority. There's 2 or 3 million Muslims. There's 65, 70 non-Muslims in the country, or a bulk majority. Yeah. So we are a super minority. So for us to be giving dawah to these people, I personally don't see a problem per se, as long as you're controlling your desires, lowering the gaze, doing whatever you need to do to put the barriers there to stop any fitna or sin. Keep that in mind and go for the rewards, yeah? Because we interact with these people all the time, yeah? At work, at college, at university, they're around us, yeah? So you're the ambassador again for Islam. For the Revert, it's a similar sort of situation. Show them Islam in the correct way, give a good image. But if you fear you're going to fall into fitna, you fear you're weak, yeah? Then obviously leave the job for someone else. It doesn't mean you have to do it. A sister could look after this. You could mention to one of your sisters in your family, or a relative, or someone you know, another sister, could you look after this Revert sister, and you feel you don't want to do the job yourself? Farm it out to someone else. Let someone else do it. They'll get the rewards. You'll still get the reward. You'll get the sadaqah jariyah because you started the ball rolling. Yeah, do you see my point, brother? So it's a judgment that only you can make. Yeah, it's a judgment that only you ultimately can make. Yeah, some people find it like doing street dawah in summer. To be quite honest, there's a lot of people that are dressed very loosely dressed, right? Not clothed hardly at all, and it's hot summer's day. It can affect you in your iman and stuff like that. It can be, but then again, the greater the hardship, the greater the reward. If you get through that day and you didn't go towards evil, Allah's going to reward you massively if your intention was correct. This is the key thing with dawah. Your niyat, your ikhlas, your intention. If it's in place, that you're doing it purely for Allah, then the rewards are like mountains. Do you see my point? You get through the hardship and you get the rewards. So it's a case-by-case thing. Everyone's situation is different. Yeah. Yes, brother.
You mentioned, brother, about, you know, when it comes to the welcoming phase, you mentioned about salah. How this is something you need to like really knuckle down on.
You need to tell them in the beginning.
Yeah, how important it is.
Yeah, definitely.
And you mentioned, of course, about, you know, when you do salah, maybe you can't expect to do everything, the whole package, like the wudu. Yeah. There's even those things which we have to do.
Yeah.
So, let's say maybe they don't pray 5 times a day. Let's say they pray 3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like on initial stage, for example.
Yes.
So, are they sinning necessarily, or is it like, let's say this happened maybe for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? So when will maybe they need to be careful now? Like, if that makes sense.
If they know that they're supposed to pray 5 times a day and they're deliberately keeping away from it, yeah, deliberately, and they've got the knowledge clearly. But what you got to understand, brother, is reverts, right, are, as I kept saying, I'm saying it for the 4th time, right? Not overemphasizing, but yeah, going from 40 years of atheism to Islam doesn't come overnight. They're trying to waking up for 50 years, waking up after the sun has come up, and then you're telling someone you have to wake up every day before the sun comes up, yeah? Do you see my point? Yeah? It doesn't come overnight. Literally, it doesn't, right? So with them, a lot of them, you know, when you say to them, in Arabic, Aqima Salah, yeah, establish regular prayer. We've got an understanding, we know what it means, it's 5 daily prayers, they're clarified in the Sunnah, yeah? But for the Revert, they might not fully understand what prayer is. That's what you've got to understand, brother, yeah? So these things, I don't know whether they're sinning or not, that's only Allah knows, yeah? If they've got knowledge and they know about it clearly, then obviously it's a sin, yeah? But a lot of them won't have the clear knowledge, yeah? Because you say to someone nowadays, you've got to pray, what does it mean to them? You know, if you say to someone you have to pray, for one person it means lighting candles in a church, for someone else it's raising your hands, making dua, whatever. People don't even know what these terms even mean anymore. Do you understand? Because it's very alien, and that's what I was trying to express earlier. In Islam, we are embedded in the remembrance of Allah. There's dua, there's dhikrs. Remember Allah before you go in the bathroom, when you come out, sleeping, waking, brushing your teeth, whatever you're cleaning or eating food, or all this dhikr and remembrance of Allah in the salah, reading Quran, doing ibadah. We're immersed in remembering Allah. That's what makes a Muslim, yeah? But the non-Muslim, the world that they live in, is that spiritually is very different. There's hardly any mention of Allah, or God even the word God, or Lord. Who uses the word Lord? We talk about Arab all the time. In every Fatiha we Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, yeah? But in English, Lord, they don't even use, if they mention the word Lord, they think you're talking about the Houses of Parliament or something like that, you know, these people there. Yeah, the Lord Mayor or something like that. It's very rare. Even the words are very rare in their world. Yeah? Even though we pick it up more because we're Muslims, and our ears are tuned to hear it. But for them, these are rare types of interactions and understandings. So worship is very much misunderstood by like reverts and non-Muslims. It's a misunderstood thing because in Islam it's very comprehensive, isn't it? It's every act of thing that pleases Allah, sayings and speech that you get closer to Allah with, that pleases Allah. So work could be worship, yeah? Picking up litter from the road, worship. All these things are worship. But worship, traditionally, somebody might think, oh, worship, you bow to something or you light a candle in the church. Or do you see my point, brother? Yeah. So for them to understand in the first 2-3 weeks, I would say it's unexpected, really.
They'll get a bit lost, basically.
They'll be a bit lost, brother. They're coming in the deep end. They're not understanding. They're maybe 3 times a day in the beginning. That's a good effort. A lot of people do that. They pray 1, 2, or 3 in the beginning, right? And maybe they just do 1, and then it grows, and they realise 5 is the important number. If I could do 3, I could reach 5. You know, it's like a learning curve type thing. Some people are praying before they become Muslims. Like Hamza Zorsis was praying before he became a Muslim.
The 5 daily prayers or
I don't know if it was the 5 daily, but he was making prayers, and in sajda he asked Allah, if you're there, guide me. So he was doing the prayer. He actually learned about it from a Muslim friend. The movements, everything, the salah. He was doing a form of it. Obviously, I don't think he knew Fatih or whatever. But the point is, it comes in stages, brother. Yeah, it comes in stages. So to focus, the key thing Allah says is establish regular prayer. Do you understand?
Yeah.
I think there's stories as well of the Sahaba, like certain Sahaba who became a Muslim, then they went out to a battle and they died immediately afterwards. They hadn't even prayed 1 rak'ah, and do you see my point? So sometimes it's not even the opportunity as well. And the opportunity is linked to understanding. If you know you're supposed to pray, you've got the knowledge, full certainty and understanding is slightly different. But these things take a bit of breaking in period to learn. Yeah, the gradualization is there. Do you understand? So there's a breaking in period. It takes steps and stages. They learn it, they absorb it. Then there's clarity, and then it's like, okay, it's on you now. Do you understand? And then it could be sinning if they're not doing it or whatever. But immediately from the outset, it's not black and white. You know what I mean? Because, and you know, it won't work like that basically. Yeah. Any other questions? No. If there's no questions, we'll end there, inshallah. So, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Jazakallah khairan. Thanks everyone again for letting me come here to Milton Keynes and meeting you guys, and I hope to meet you more, inshallah, and work with BDO and give you everything you guys what you need. Obviously, we've got materials for you. We've got books, postcards, flyers, all the stuff that we produced. It's on our website. If any of you guys want it, I can ship it over straight here. I think we shipped over some to Brother Ansar. We can ship them anytime, whatever you guys want. We've got Forbidden Prophecies, really good book about the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, love of God. You know, because certain religions or certain ways of life, they have this love element very big. Christianity, God is love, Jesus is love, and they win over many reverts to their religion. Christianity converts through the love element. So we produce a book about love in Islam, Allah is al-Wa'dud, verses of the Quran, etc. Many other books, The Last Messenger, Life After Life, Making Sense of God. It's all on our website, on the IERA website. You just go there and you can see all our books, publications, so we can provide you all of that. We can provide you with training, advanced courses. I don't know if any of you got to see Hamza's course on Sunday about irrationality or something it's called, about atheism. That was an amazing talk he did. If any of you get a chance, in a couple of weeks it's going to be online on YouTube. I'll try and send the link to Brother Ansar if I remember, and you can share it with any of you guys. But it's an excellent talk he did about atheism. I watched the last 20 minutes of it live. I was actually in Scotland. I wasn't in. It took place in London, but I'm keen to watch the whole thing myself because it was so well explained and done. It's a really, really good course he did. So there's advanced courses, Darwinism, evolutionary biology, that kind of area, or evolution, which Brother Sabur does. Brother Imran focuses a lot on atheism again. Materialism and stuff like that. There's all these different topic areas ready for you guys to learn and get more interested in Dawah, inshallah. So, Jazakallah khairan. With your permission, I'll make a move back to London, inshallah. And